beginnings were humble.
My dad's story is basically the American dream.
We became refugees in our own country. And my dad said, I think we're going to America.
But the legend grew quickly.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of trophies coming home. At that point, he started to know that something was different from the ordinary dad, for sure.
Then passed from a father to the son.
Michael, for instance, he was born with a steering wheel in his hands.
All the things that we've been able to do in this sport that we really love, and we live and breathe it.
The ultimate satisfaction, to be able to pursue something that sometimes seems impossible. Impossible dreams in our lives have become reality.
And to finish 1, 2, 3 Andretti is just unbelievable.
Boys, move over. Danica Patrick wins a twin ring.
The racing season is complete and Michael Andretti is the champion.
Darno Braghini's going to win the race and the championship.
Michael, then John, then Mario. The top 3 positions all belong to Andretti.
Second flag. You just won the Indy 500, baby.
Man becomes legend. Legend becomes legacy. Legacy becomes empire.
Over the 114 years the Speedway has been in operation, Indianapolis has seen 795 drivers attempt to carve their names into the history books. Tonight, however, 33 drivers will do battle over the course of 500 grueling miles to win for bragging rights and for glory. This is the 9th annual Indy Elite Series Indianapolis 500. My name is Finney Nakuna here with Connor Horn. Connor, I'm glad to be back with you. You've been joining me for the last couple races this season, and boy has it been a blast watching these guys do battle all across the United States in IndyCar machinery. But here we are at the Hollow Grounds at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Hallowed grounds indeed. This is the month we've been waiting for. We have been waiting ever since Barber finished up to be at this track at this moment to see 33 cars, all with a chance to win this race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The 9th annual, like you said, this is going to be an absolute blast. It's going to be a grueling one for all of these drivers. Obviously, the longest race anyone's going to drive all season, no doubt about that. It is going to be a tough task for man and machine. So these drivers are going to have to be on their best behavior today to have a shot after 500 miles.
Yeah, we're doing a proper 500-mile race, 200 laps on the board for these drivers. Qualifying happened last week, including bump day. 35 drivers showing up for the attempt, 33 making it on through, and they're about to grid in just a couple minutes' time. Well, this we'll talk over while we got still a couple minutes left before the green flag drops and we're off and away. The point standings coming to tonight. There is still a championship battle to be had amongst the top drivers in this series. However, the gap has expanded quite significantly after major events over the last couple races at both Long Beach and Barber. Brandon Traino leading 82 points over Christian Steele. Is it enough? It's going to be a big gap for him to overcome. It's still mathematically possible, Connor, but it might be a long shot.
I think it is definitely going to be a long shot. We remember Long Beach over a month ago. That could have made things very different coming into this week, but he did not take that opportunity to close in. And like you said, now it's about a 90-point gap. It's going to take a lot to knock Brandon Traino off. Traino's been very fast all month in practice. That's why he's going to be starting at the top, I believe. So he is going to be in control of his own destiny, no doubt about that.
And there is Christian Steele taking a look at his Team i5G car rolling around turns 1 and 2. Trying to chase them, and actually, ironically, they're both nose to tail on the timing sheets at the moment in practice. 5th and 6th. Adam Blocker in the 74. Not surprised to see that name up near the top of the sheet. He's running a part-time schedule here. Picked up one win earlier on in the season. Actually, I think won the last race, if I'm not mistaken, one at Barber. And indeed, started on pole one at Barber. So see if he can go back-to-back victory lane here in this series. And of course, glad to be back with Indy Elite this season, as well as you missed the last Indianapolis 500 for these drivers, the 8th annual last season, due to the situation around broadcasting for IndyCar. But glad to have these cars back. And from what I've seen in practice, these cars have been able to follow each other fairly closely, a lot closer than I've seen them in the past. Trying to see if we can get a group. Here's a big gaggle of cars coming out of pit lane. But they've actually been able to follow each other really closely, and that makes me excited, because that means we're going to have some close racing on the track.
Yeah, you can see this right here. This is not what you'd see in real life, but it's still incredibly entertaining. Well, you might see that on a restart. I've seen Rossi make moves around the outside in 1 and 2. We've always seen those crazy moves happen every now and then, but this is going to be pretty entertaining. We're going to see drivers all over each other at the very start of this race, but they're going to have to be very, very cautious. Like we talked about, 500 miles. You need to make it to the end to have a shot at this, and you're going to have to probably be playing some fuel-saving games a little bit as well on the off chance it goes green. But I believe last season's Indy 500, we had 9 cautions, so it might be unlikely that this does go fully green. I believe it's never happened, but you do have to still make sure you play the fuel right.
Play the fuel right, play the strategy right, play the race right. It's going to be what these drivers have to deal with. It's effectively an endurance race, an extremely fast endurance race, with these drivers clocking in 220, 230 miles an hour heading off into turns 1 and 3. Waiting on the go-ahead, 7 o'clock here, and waiting for practice to come to an end here. I believe we'll be advancing in just a couple moments' time as the last 2 drivers. And a big wreck happens on the front straightaway. Hopefully we don't see a lot of that.
Yeah, don't want to see a lot of that, and we don't want to see drivers ramming over each other either. Was that Akaboise? I'm not sure, but either way, there's a big risk of that happening. You get aero wash out of these corners, really out of any corner. That wall is going to be right there to greet you to a big whacking, so you got to be very, very careful when you're behind someone, especially close behind someone.
So some 3-wide action there. The 74 blocker working his way through Andreas Pike and Jesper Orman. Oh, a little bit of tap from Orman, and he gets up into the wall. Drivers finding the limits here. Better to find the limits now than when it comes down to it in the race. You're going to want to be on your best behavior to make sure you can make it to the end here. And also see some drivers in the back. Pitting also. Make sure you practice that, because we've seen so many times drivers get very avoidable penalties coming down to pit lane that can make or break their race.
Also pit exit. It should be pretty simple, but we saw in Long Beach a pit exit violation by Trano. Much easier to do at Long Beach, obviously, so I wouldn't think it would be an issue here, but like you said, pit entry, very important to nail that down. It is I believe, a little bit further in to the pit wall as far as getting in there and actually getting to the cone, so you got to be making sure you're ready to practice that. I've already seen a number of drivers doing it in the past 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, and actually it looks like we're going to be going for practice till for the next couple of minutes. We're going to be running practice now. So you got 3 minutes for the drivers, extra running on the track. Go use the restroom, get everything you need to do, because you're going to be in the sim, in the car for the next 3 hours and change after this. So get everything sorted, get ready to go, and get warmed up to race. Trying to look at here. Take a look. I'll talk a little bit about our qualifying results. I want you to, Connor, to guess who man is going to be on a pole.
I believe the top 2 are Brandon Trano and Christian Steele,
yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
They are.
Yeah.
Couldn't write it any better, right?
I believe I saw that on Twitter, and it was not very surprising to me to see the 32 drivers who made the field. And like we said, no surprise to see those top 2 going to be starting on the front row for this 500-mile event.
You know what's funny, too? I'm actually looking at it now. The entire top 5 are the top 5 drivers in the standings. Trano, Steele, Akaboise, Oscar, and Andreas Eich are top 5 in the race as well as in the standings. So I guess it just comes to show cream of the crop will eventually rise to the top.
Yeah, and it really is no surprise, but I'm interested to see how all their race pace is. Obviously, Q pace for lap average, you just kind of got to go and send it. More drivers hitting the wall. Ouch, that's going to hurt. But, gosh, you don't want to go that far deep in. But, yeah, we're going to see a lot of that. Hopefully not, but it is very difficult to get into such a thin pit entry, so that will cause issues for a lot of drivers. But as far as the race pace of those top 5 points guys who qualified top 5, it's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain there at the start of this race.
Flynn Lazier out there on the track. I almost feel like I haven't seen a lot of Flynn Lazier, and I'm not sure if that is Me just not recognized? No, he's only got one start this season so far. He's been a regular in the past. One start he had, he ran at Indianapolis when we were at the road course early in the year. Started in third, finished in third, so ran pretty well here. And also got to point out, that is a beautiful looking car, that red, gold, and black.
It's very solid indeed, and we should be getting a good view of it today. I would think he'll be a little bit of a factor, and he'll definitely stick out. John Silva, we'll see what type of pace he has as well. He's 6th on the timing sheet currently. Obviously, everyone practicing race pace, so he might have some decent speed.
Looking good in practice. Blaze Andrich, don't recognize that name. Another really solid looking car, and the number 19 currently running in 10th.
Made 2 starts this season, Iowa at the Oval, and he finished 10th at Iowa, and the Indy road course, another start for him as well. He finished 2nd that race, so a good record at Indy this season already, but we'll see what he can do on the Oval.
So you can do here, less than a minute left as the drivers get their final laps in. Quickly have one more lap, they can make it around here. A lot of drivers coming down into pit lane, practicing not only the entry, but also getting into your stall as well. Coming down and getting used to getting these cars low down from 55 miles an hour.
And that's a tough, tall task. We're going to hit speeds of, 230 at most points during this race, maybe 225, somewhere around there. You got to get from there all the way down to 55 to 60. So that's what makes that entry, that thin entry, so difficult, because you got a short amount of time to get to that low speed, and you don't have much room to work with either.
Watching Gidgel try to make a move across the line, with fighting with Andrich there. Might potentially have the chance of seeing a close finish like that. And that chance will come in just a couple seconds time here as qualifying is coming, not qualifying, so used to qualifying coming to an end. Practice will be coming to an end. No qualifying, as it was all sorted out last week with bump day. 33 drivers qualified. All 33 have shown up here for the main event as we get ready to go here. 200 laps, 500 miles will be on the board for these drivers to tackle, and we'll get them down to gridding and work through your order. We'll see how this works, because sometimes this has a little bit of issues when it comes to iRacing. But we'll take a look at your starting lineup, and it does look like it's working properly. Brandon Train will be starting on pole for the 9th annual Indy Elite Series Indianapolis 500. Next to him, Christian Steele rolling off in 2nd in the number 2 car, 2nd in the points, trying to see if he can take a championship away from the number 9.
And then 3rd position, Hamilton Akaboise, who I believe, like you said, is 3rd in points. Not sure if this is his first Indy Elite 500 or not, but either way, he's got a good chance of winning it with the speed he's shown this season. He'll start 3rd. Jacob Oster, who's also showed speed, will start 4th.
When we go back to 5th place, it's going to be Andreas Ike in the number 76 machine. Next to him, Jason Brophy lined up in the 97, rolling off in 6th.
7th position will go to Andrew Wood in the number 64. Rashad Craig in his number 21 will start 8th.
Moving on back to the next row, drivers. Row number 5, Jesper Orman rolling off in the 53 in 9th. AJ Musselman going to line up in 10th in the 54.
To see Musselman high up in the order so far. Adam Blocker, who I believe is a different, former winner of this Indy 500, if I'm not mistaken, he'll start back in 11th with a little work to do. Joshua Tucker in his number 44 will start 12th.
Moving back to 13th, to meet Seb Alexander in the 49 car. Next to him, Craig Forsythe lined up in the 14th in the 99 machine.
15th position, David Adams in his 00, and then what I believe is another former winner, Robert Malechka, will start in the 16th position.
Moving on back to 17th place, John Silva lined up in the number 5 machine. Next to him, Christopher lined up in the 13 in 18.
Rounding out that top 20, Paolo Vinicius in the 142 will start 19th. Tony Schoen will start 20th.
Moving on back, 21st, Flynn Lazier lined up in the number 8 machine. Next to him, Joe Branch, 22nd in the 28 car.
23rd position, Mike Kitchell in that 04, that Pennzoil livery that sticks out so well. He starts 23rd. Brian Carey starts 24th.
Moving on back to 25th, Andrew Marquez going to line up in the 36 car. Blaze Andrich in 19, going rolling off in 26th.
27th position, Lorenzo Bonder in the number 37 starts 27th. Mark Murphy, the number 69, will start 28th.
Moving on back to 29th, it's going to be Julian Altona in the number 11 machine. Alexander Bull line up in 30th.
And these drivers just barely making it into the field through bump day. John Christensen starts 31st. Charles Ante will start 32nd.
And rounding out your field of 33 cars will be Gary Lovern in the 98 machine, lined up in 33rd. That's going to be your starting lineup here from Indianapolis. Quick look at the weather. It's 22.9 degrees Celsius in the air, 41.7 on the track, a little bit warm, a little bit slick out there for these drivers here as they roll out of turn 4. The season coming to an end, but a 500-mile race is going to be getting underway here. Brandon Traino leading the field on down. 33 Indy cars getting ready to roll here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The 9th annual Indianapolis 500 is underway for the Indy Elite Series. All these cars racing, flying out of turn number 4. Christian still wasting no time to take the lead away, but Brandon Traino coming back on him to make a move. Going to make a move back up the inside in turn 1. Will take the lead back from the number 2.
There's going to be a little bit of swapping here. I wouldn't be surprised to do so. We see this all the time at the front when you're trying to play fuel games. Just stretch that fuel as long as possible. You'll see usually the top 2, top 3 drivers swap back and forth. Would not be surprised. Yep, we'll see Steele do the same thing as most of the field, mostly single-filed out already.
Everyone getting into a groove again. It's a marathon, not a sprint for these drivers. Although tell that to Adam Blocker, he's already making moves up the order, wasting no time. Started in 11th. He's already up to 8th after 1 lap, and he's got a great move on the back of Rayshad Craig in the number 21 machine. Looks like he's kind of satisfied at the moment to sit behind. Nope, he's not. Scratch that. He's going to make a move to the inside.
Yeah, he made up 3 of those positions in the first lap. He actually made 2 up in turn 4 alone from what I was looking at. He definitely wants to get to the front quickly, but Craig's not going to let him get there very easily. He's going to be one that's going to keep the 74 at bay for at least another set of corners.
Yeah, and it's easy to fight. It's not terribly hard to fight side by side, but the issue is matter of getting a run on the inside. You need to build up that run heading into the corner. If you don't, that outside lane, you get such a good run off the corner. It's fairly easy to beat your opponent on the inside. Again, it also depends on the setup. Of course, open setups here for the Indy Elite Series as well, so everyone's got something slightly different tuned to their taste as Hamilton Akaboys, he's making a hard charge to the front, getting past the 2 Steele, still going up for the lead. Will get past Traino and be the new leader here.
Akaboys will actually be the one taking the lead. He goes 3rd to 1st on the front straightaway. I believe they're all teammates, but they're trying to play the game, trying to keep control. Oster's kind of the rear gunner for all that, I believe. Brophy 5th as he just rides in line as everyone gets their bearings down. Joshua Tucker's taking a look for 12th on AJ Musselman, but for the most part, pretty orderly. And one thing about that higher line, you'll see Indy cars here on iRacing run a lot higher than you'll probably ever see in an actual race, besides maybe a race. Pounded the wall in the back. He'll go immediately to pit lane. I could not see who that was.
Tony Schowen.
He pancaked the wall, and that's enough to ruin a race completely.
And he's had such terrible luck on a lot of the speedway races this season and in previous seasons as well. And Schowen, you talk about running high, ran a little bit too high there, caught the safer barrier, a big hit to the wall, and I think that might take him out early. He might be able to repair it, but he's definitely going to go a lap down or 2 to get that damage fixed.
And that's what we're talking about. You can run a little bit higher here, but you're still going to run out of room fairly quickly. I think he was trying to look to get to the outside of Chris Stouffer. Stouffer was kind of shutting the door because Schoen was not really there. And Schoen, I think, just lost bearings of where he was, pounded the wall. As here comes another lead change. Akaboyes going to take it back. He'll lead that lap, but the 31 likely the first one completely out of contention for now.
Blaze Andrew trying to be one of the biggest movers of this race so far. Whoa! Gets very close quarters with Paulo Vinicius there for 19th. We'll squeeze him on by for 7th. Got to take a look at that and what just occurred because that was almost a wreck right there.
Yeah, that could have been a big one. I think Paolo gave him a huge break. I think Andrich went in here thinking he was going to have it easily. Didn't really lift. Didn't really even give any room. Thought he was just going to have it. And Vinicius, I would say, one term you could say, he made a business decision here as Schoen has officially retired. He's the first retirement of this race. That's how close it can be at 210, 215 miles an hour.
Unfortunately, already one car retired. 32 will remain on the track. Vinicius running a little bit wide there as he's trying to defend from Flynn Lazier. Battle for 20th amongst these drivers. But taking a look at the lead, which has been contentious, and this is usually how it ends up. Everyone slipstreaming down the front straightaway, trading blows here. Treno versus Akboise. Just one goes, one comes, one goes, one comes, and then mostly going to remain this way, I imagine, until the first pit stop. That's, I think, really the big goal for a lot of these drivers. The first set of pit stops, which we expect to see around lap 28, 29, 30.
Yeah, and you don't want to, the reason we're going to be seeing this, like we were talking about, you're playing these fuel games so you can maybe potentially cut a pit stop out of this. If you go full song this entire race, you're probably not going to pull away, but you're also probably going to have to do an extra pit stop, and that's just going to completely ruin you. That's if it obviously goes green. Like we said, never seen that before, but it's always a possibility. You're always trying to stretch it to the very end, just in case you can cut out a stop.
Running more, Richard Craig, who still found his place in line, running a little bit high there. I think he's trying to get out of the wash of Andreas Ike up ahead. And also trying to get a great run off the corner. You're going to see him by running a little bit higher, you get a bit of a better run, but the issue is the 6 cars ahead of him are also getting a slipstream, so not going to help a whole lot.
Part of that, what's helping him as well, a little stack up into the corner. Got to be wary of that as well. As a matter of fact, that's going to give him the opportunity to get around Andreas Ike, kind of out of nowhere. But when you have everyone single file like this, you're going to see the entry to the corner really stack up at points, and that's what let him really pounce on Andreas Ike there. Now Ike's looks like he's going to settle in front of Adam Blocker. What I was going to say is that Craig was running that high, not only get clean air on the nose, but was also providing good defense against Adam Blocker.
It's a strong running for Rashad Craig, trying to move up slowly through the order. To the top, you see one driver dropping back a little bit. Andrew Marquez struggling.
Altana's exited. Altana reset on pit road. I'm not sure what issue he had, but he completely pulled off and reset to the pits.
Oh,
Don't
he
know
had,
if he
had an incident somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see where this is.
Kind of looked like he just dropped off the pace randomly. Oh, Altana, he just put in all teams chat that his pedals went out twice. So that's what the issue with Altana was. Not sure what happened with the 24 of Ante.
Yeah, here's Altana. You can hear there the issue with his pedals, and that pulled off the side. That is really unfortunate here. Here's Chris Ante looking on board with what happened to him.
Charles or Chris? Just want to get that right.
Charles Ante, I believe, right?
Yes, you said Chris. I was confused.
Oh, sorry. I meant Charles Ante. You can look at him in the 24, and
I think that was the lap prior. To me, it looked like the lap later just kind of pulled into the pits and stopped. So I'm not quite sure what the deal was with that, but
maybe
he's off
I have
track.
another issue, yeah. So, just like that, some other issues taking out some drivers, down to 30 already after the first opening laps here. And everyone running single file. I'm just amazed at how close they are. Usually we see them separate out a little bit, but everyone's in very tight formation compared to what we've seen in the past. And I wonder if that has to do with the newer track. I don't think we broadcasted an IndyCar race at the new version of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the newer revamped version, 2022. Because I think, yes, I don't think we did because I think we got the newer version in the summer. And then we would have done it for last year, would have been the first. I think this is the first one, so we're really seeing a lot of that new track in action here as Trina makes another move. And they will continue their game up near the front. Andrew, it's still moving up through the order, up 9 spots.
Yeah, we were talking about what aggressive moves he's making, but it's working out right now big time. That's 8, like you said, 8 positions. Stouffer almost hit the wall out of 4 behind him, but I think a part of it as well is that these drivers with open setups, and obviously they're going to have so many in-car adjustments they can make to help with that aero wake that they're going to have to deal with when they're in traffic. It's really not that big of a deterrent. It's still going to put you in the wall like we saw with Tony Schauen, but you can still manage it well to the point where we're not going to get spread out for at least a little bit longer, but you are starting to see about the back half of the field getting a little bit more spread out. More of those drivers back there are the ones struggling the most, while everyone at the front, about 10-15, are able to stay pretty close to each other.
Coughlin Lazier trying to make a move, and now Brian Carey taking a chance at the mistake from Lazier. He couldn't get the move done, and now open to attack in turn 4. Couldn't execute, though. Couldn't get to the inside. He backed out of it. And I see a car making a move. That's Andrich making a move to the inside. David Adams battle for 16th between both of them. And he's going to have to back out of that on this occasion.
Well, I didn't even know if we noted it, but Adam Blocker did get by Andreas Ike, so he's up 4 positions. He's still trying to hunt down that 21 of Rashad Craig, but I think he's a little bit faster, but just doesn't have the opportunity because, like we were talking about, Craig keeps running that higher line, so Blocker's not going to really have a chance to get clean air on the nose because he'll still be in the wake of Jason Brophy, but Craig's also going to have no aero wash because no one's really defending him, so he gets a better run off the corner, able to keep that position for now.
Yeah, again, everyone running slightly different setups to each other. Some drivers running the same, those who are affiliated with teams like Team I5G. You would imagine running similar setups. Altona Autosport also running.
Crash! Mike Kitchell hit the inside wall hard in the middle of 1 and 2.
Oh.
He's destroyed that IR-18, but it looks like we're going to stay green as he goes down the road course.
Yeah, looks like this might have been self-contained here. Take a look. This is heading down the straightaway, front straightaway into turns 1 and 2. And did he just get tight? He went straight up the hill into the wall, and then a very hard impact there to that inside.
Yeah, I feel like we rarely see in real life that wall get hit, but I remember someone hit that wall in the Area Cup race here. And they're out of control at that point. Nothing you can do. He's going to get it back around. He actually just passed Altona, who's still having issues with his pedals. So Altona, he might not even get back to pit road. But
yeah, I saw him get back on the track, but he is struggling to get down to the pits, and I wonder what he's going to do here.
I don't know if this would trigger yellow or not if he stops.
It's kind of iffy. Yeah, I think he's just trying to see if he can try to make it back around. I think he hard left said he might be out of it, but it's a little bit weird with the way the cautions are mapped here. I don't think he's got enough speed to make it back. We do have a caution.
Out. It did come out. I don't think we had anything else, so I think it was for the 11.
And just like that, pace will be slowed down for the first time here at Indianapolis. Caution coming out, lap 16.
And there's nothing Alta can do because his pedals, he can't stop because his pedals aren't working.
He can't stop, so it's at the mercy of where the car goes.
I'm a little surprised the iRacing yellow triggers there, as Altana's finally gotten stopped by the wall. The shame for him because he really didn't get a chance to compete because of hardware issues, besides the others who hit the wall. But yes, that will be the first time pace has slowed down about 16 laps in as we're working lap 17, and we'll see. We should see, I would assume, everyone come down.
I think we should see quite a few drivers come on down, especially because this is the first time these drivers are going to be able to come down, make adjustments. You want to make tire pressure adjustments, like wing adjustments as well. You can come and do that now, and I'm sure after getting the car out there on the track, running in traffic in behind a whole bunch of cars, you really start to get a feel for how the race car is going to behave, and you can start to make those fine-tuned adjustments other than the in-car adjustments iRacing lets you make. We'll see here. Imagine pit lane's going to be a fairly busy place.
And Altona will become already not really too much action, but that's the third retirement with Shao and Ante and now Altona. And I assume Mike Kitchell, I'd be shocked if he gets in the race. So really, we'll probably be seeing 4 as everyone's going to come down for someone didn't.
Carey, I think. Brian Carey going to stay out.
That is...
Go against the grain?
That is an island if ever I've seen one.
Everyone else, all 29 other cars coming on down, 28 cars that are still running of the 29 remaining. Ooh, saw a lockup. I think that was Craig. And it looks like he got up on the jacks. Everything's fine. Ooh, Oster. Uh-oh. That's what we talked about. Ew, it's...
Oh, he's still not in.
Oh, no.
He's going to lose a lot of track position.
That's going to put him to the back of the field, essentially. That's very unfortunate for him.
Like Austin Powers, just trying to back forward, get near stall. That's unfortunate, though. He'll be about really in the mid-pack, showing 19th on the board, so he's going to have ways to get back up with his other I5G teammates. Treno Akaboise, Steele, Rashad Craig, and Brophy out top 5. We'll see if Brian Carey comes down next time or not. It's one advantage to obviously not coming down. If you think cleaner air on the nose is going to help you keep track position, this makes sense. But we don't know how well he'll be able to keep that track position. Plus, he'll probably be down in the next 10-15 laps if he didn't pit.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the issue, is that these guys are going to have to be coming down relatively soon. And again, even in the grand scheme of things, it's very early on in this race. A lot of things can happen. That being said, things may not happen. So he's deciding not to play it safe, trying to throw it out there. And I mean, you might have to make these kind of moves to get things going your way. Question is, does he have a car that's quick enough to stay near the front, especially on slightly older tires? And then, of course, has to come down again once more.
So it looks like he's going to stay out. Robert Malechka's just coming out of pit road. I saw him weaving on the pit lane. Didn't see him have any contact with anyone, but definitely stayed in pit road a little while longer. So wonder if he maybe did have contact with the wall or something. Maybe
he
just
was in there for a minute and 8 seconds, which is a very long pit stop. Typically, these guys are looking at 7 to 8 second pit stops, so he was there for an extra minute. And like you said, I don't recall him getting involved in anything. I'm going to take a look at this car as he comes around, if there's any damage. He's coming back in again.
Maybe. I don't know. The suspension, nothing looks off.
It does look off to you?
No, it doesn't visually look off to me.
Yeah, well, he better hurry up because we've got 1 to green here and they're already on the back straightaway. Kerry, Trano, Akaboise, Steele, and Craig will be your top 5 coming to the restart. Not really any big change in order down the pit lane, of course, except for Jacob Oster, who drops back down to the midfield. This will be fun to watch him have to work through the order. Of course, not fun for him, fun for us to watch.
No, I'm sure he would have much rather been content with riding in 5th still, but he's going to have a little bit of work to do if he wants to get back in contention at the front with his teammates, and it's going to be a little tough to do so as well.
Well, at least he made a mistake early on, so has 180 laps to correct it to try to get up to the front.
It looks like Milechka will catch the pack eventually, so we'll still have 29 drivers running.
All right, 1 caution down. We'll see if any more remain here. Pace car going to make the turn off the pit lane. Field back in control of Brian Carey. Big question mark. The older tires, can he keep up with a lot of faster drivers in behind him? And off he will go. We are back green here in Indianapolis.
Pretty early start. Top 3 got a big jump. It was Christian Steele who kind of didn't go, and this field has gotten much more spread out, obviously, on this single file start, at least between the top 12. Pretty stacked up. 14th on back is Flynn Lazier immediately making a move on Christopher, at least trying to. And for the lead, this shouldn't take too long. Trano to the front, and now this will be a big test for Carey to see what type of grip he has with older tires.
I could feel Akaboise having to get on the brakes, trying to stay in behind Brian Carey, who's just not quite able to stay up to speed. And there's the gap at the moment, although he'll come back on the straightaway. Everyone, whoa! Orange and white car got very close. I almost want to say that was Joe Branch. No, it was not Joe Branch. Seb Alexander got very close to the wall. That's the orange, white, and yellow car here. Got very close to the wall off of turn 4.
Seb Alexander, yes. Did see a little bit of a... Oh, yeah, he got close to it. I can confirm that. Carey is able to stay in 2nd, and I feel like these I5G guys, these guys at the front, are going to be content with riding, still saving fuel, saving their stuff. So this could work out for Carey as from a track position standpoint. He stayed out from 21st position, but looks like Akaboise is going to have a run here, and he'll take it, so scratch that. But maybe if it cycles around, if he comes out anywhere ahead of 21st when it cycles back around, if it cycles back around under green, I'd say it's successful, but it's a big risk to take, even this early. It
is a big risk to take, especially if it remains green. So far, it looks like everyone's feeling fairly considerate to each other. Again, we'll have to check that back in 100 laps' time.
Here goes Steele.
Steele now making his move, so... Slow slide backwards, but it's not as bad as I thought. I honestly thought he was going to be a lot worse off, but the tires are holding. I guess because he didn't really have to push the first opening stint, so he was able to save them enough. Oh, in the background, though, Brophy and Adam Blocker doing battle. I was wondering who this green and black car. I didn't realize it was Jason Brophy, a newer paint scheme for him. Not normally in green, from what I recall.
You would almost think the Rashad Craig and Brophy. You think they're Junko Hollinger racing cars?
I thought they were teammates for a second. I didn't. Yeah. So they're slightly different, but they very much could pass as teammates.
Definitely could. As Carey, he might settle in for 4th for a little bit now, as those teammates will start swapping once again at the front. As Carey, you can tell he's having to take it much easier into the corner, even still, and saying that Rashad Craig might have a look down into turn number 1, see what type of run he gets. Adam Blocker can't shake that 21. Can't get by him yet, as we see the top 5, 6 or so, a little bit spread out from that 97 of Brophy.
It looks like Adam Blocker is going to have to try to get around Rashad Craig if he wants to win this race, is what it looks like. He can't. He's been trying to get past his 21, not quite been able to. He's been putting up a solid defense ever since he got past him in the opening few laps of this race. Andres Ike and that Orman? That is Jesper Orman in the 53, fanning out.
Man. Tell you what, Oster made a bold move in the turn number 2. I think they were 3 wide for a second. David Adams, Seb Alexander a little slower. Oster took him 3, and it looked like it worked, except Adams got back by, but that was tight into turn number 2.
They're right on board with him. There's Seb Alexander in front, as well as David Adams. You see the big run. You see that is David Adams slow on the inside, and Oster taking it down to the inside, trying to make a move. I imagine for him, there's a lot of frustration because he put it, and you can only be mad at yourself essentially, right, as the driver, because he put himself in the situation, wasn't able to get into his pit stall efficiently, and it put him down the order, so now just wants to get back up there as quickly as possible.
But you can tell how hard it is to pass because even with how fast I think that car is, he's still only up to 16th. I think he'll make that 15th on David Adams into turn number 3. He's at least going to try to. Saw lap 24 out of turn 4. Joshua Tucker had a kiss with the wall. I feel like in real life that would hurt it, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him too much. He's still 11th, looking for 10th on Andrew Wood. To the inside he goes, but like we said, that 16's got some work to do. He is working over David Adams.
Blaze Andrews continuing his slow climb forward, now up to 14th in that number 18, that number 19 car. Really showing his qualifying setup, maybe not the best, but his race setup, his racecraft at the very least, looking very solid.
I would not be surprised to see him. If he can keep the car in one piece, I think he'll be in contention. Long way to go to be able to make this work, as it almost looked like Forsyth hit the wall on entry on accident. That won't hurt the car, but he's still got the 19 to deal with in Andrich.
Yeah, he's been running this number 99 machine. He's been running very close to the wall. I'm not sure that's on purpose or that's just how he likes to ride it, but he's been getting up there, Craig Forsyth, and so far so good. It's been working for him, running solidly in 13th. Stuck in the midfield. And behind AJ Musselman, haven't mentioned 54 car tonight so far. Just ahead of him in 12th.
Kind of stayed put, fell back a little bit from his starting position in 10th. It seems like it's a much more spread out field this time, at least in the back. It seems much more spread out than it was on the initial first run. So a little bit of a different strategy from some drivers, possibly. And at the same time, seems like Brian Carey's found a home in 4th position. Rashad Craig has not been able to really do anything with the 79 since that 79 fell back to that 4th position. Joshua Tucker still working over Andrew Wood, who's fallen back in this run a little bit.
Got a big run on the number 64 car, but not quite enough of a run maybe to make a move. He's going to watch out.
Whoa, man.
That was a great view there to see how close his wing got to the back of Andrew Wood. And that's, as a driver, you have to make that executive decision. Do I push forward or do I back out of it? A lot of times, especially for here, you're going to have to back out of it because one wrong move, your race is over.
It just happens that quickly. We saw that with the 31. Just one little mistake, you're in the wall and you're done. Same thing with the 04 as well. It's 2 drivers who had just made this tiniest mistake, but it's a game really of centimeters here at Indianapolis. You make that tiny bit of a mistake, you're going to be in the wall at 200 miles an hour and your race will be done before you can even react.
Taking a look back at the leaders, not much has changed really. The top 2 switching places, Akboy Zantreno with Christian Steer running quietly in 3rd place. Brian Carey sitting in behind. You mentioned he's found his solid spot in 4th. That being said, he's ran 29 laps out there, and I imagine he's going to have to come down to pit lane fairly soon.
I would think so. We thought the pit window was going to be around here. He hasn't called out on the radio yet if he's going to or not.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of extra mileage because of the caution, so I think he can go a couple more, and especially he's been running in the slipstream and not pushing, so might get an extra bit out of that. There wants to try to prolong the inevitable, but Rashad Craig trying to work around the outside.
I thought Craig was going to get there. It seemed like Carey had a really tough time in turn 1 in the wash of Christian Steele. What might happen if Carey stays out long enough, this might be tough for Rashad Craig to even stay with those top 3. Right now, there seems to be a bit of a gap forming behind when the 79 kind of falls back because of that wash-up, so might be looking at that. I'm sure a lot of drivers and teams are looking at Carey's strategy with the caution, under caution, just to see how long he will be able to stretch this tank. I'm sure other drivers will be noting that as well, in case something crazy happens at the end of the race.
Jacob Oster up to 15.
Wow, that's high. I'm sorry, I just didn't think Rashad Craig was going to run that high. I wish you saw that line in turn number 1. That is not a line you will ever see in real life at Indianapolis.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, that is up. That is really high. Up on the seam. Yeah, that car is usually not able to make that work, but managed to get it going. Yeah, that is a dangerous line. Because usually halfway through the corner, the car will just go right. It won't rotate anymore.
you'll have marbles up there that
Oh,
just
yeah.
prevents the car from turning. Don't really have that in iRacing to the point where it will ruin your race. In real life, you're in the wall no matter what. But maybe a little bit of an advantage to iRacing. Maybe make the track a little bit more fun. You have that lane a little bit at your disposal, but it didn't look like it worked. He's gonna go right back to it again. There's a seam up there, and you'll find some grips on seams at any track. Like we said, you're not going to do that at Indy, but he's getting a little bit of a run doing that.
I think trying to see if he can build up more of a run on Brian Carey. He's really been helped up by the slipstream of the 3 cars ahead of him, poking hole through the air, so makes up for a little bit of his lack in corner speed with the older tires. He's been holding station really solidly in 4th, but I kind of agree with you. I think overall this seems to be working out as a net gain for him. Again, we have to see really where things cycle out if we get a caution later on where he falls in, but so far, it seems like it might work out.
And with it being a pretty early yellow around lap 16, I don't even know if this will really cost him a pit stop or not. So he's really he's pretty much on the same strategy as everyone around him, just a little bit of an alternate kind as far as laps go. And we're still looking to see if Jacob Oster can make his way through. He's now up to 14th, so that's +5 since the restart. He's actually gotten ahead of the biggest mover of the race, Blaze Andrich. He's still working over Craig Forsyth.
And Forsyth is the next driver he needs to work past, so it's been slow and steady progress for the number 16. And I think a big thing is also hampering his progress, the fact that everyone again is so close nose to tail that the driver you're trying to pass, if you pull out a line like this, and you'll see it right here, you see him get side by side with Forsyth. Forsyth's got the slipstream, gets him back on the straightaway because he's got the slipstream from Musselman, but Oster's got a slightly better car to the inside and a better lane, and I think should clear him here in turn 2.
It helped Oster when Musselman kind of ran the top in turns 1 and 2, so it actually gave Forsyth the dirtier air, but even still, he could not complete that pass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought Forsyth was gonna yield, but again, it just really shows how much grip these cars have on the outside, that they're really able to stick it there and defend themselves, so it's not just a matter of just chucking the car to the inside. Great defense from Forsyth.
It was great defense as well as...
Oh,
I thought I saw someone close to the wall. Forsyth might have been close to the wall. I think he actually hit the wall.
Yeah, he got very slow off the corner. Oh, yeah, that's a solid hit right there, and there was Oster taking evasive maneuvers to that. Right on
like
board.
He's gonna...
You hear him get out of the throttle, too, trying to avoid it, but at that point, it's too late.
And that can assure you that is going to be a little bit bent, but doesn't seem to bend to the point where he's going to pull off yet. But that's definitely going to do big damage.
We'll see when he comes around if he's going to decide to come into pit or if he will stay out and muscle it out for the rest of the stint. At the very least, he will stay out, and there's a gaggle of cars in behind him. Seb Alexander, Adams, and Mleczko nose to tail. Yeah,
Seb Alexander's not had a good run himself. He's really fallen back on this restart, kind of holding up Adams, and also Mleczko, who, is that Mleczko? He started tail end of this field, and he is up in the 18th position, so he is +11 since the start. That 91's fast.
Yeah, 91 is really quick. I'm still wondering what got him down the order in the first place, because we never were able to rectify that. Either way, it seems like it's not hampering his progress, because he's able to get this car up pretty quickly back through the order to restarting around 29. We'll make another solid move to the inside of Adams and get past him.
Quick to note, we are still waiting on Brian Carey to pit. This is that's 36 laps completed. We did have the yellow, obviously, but he's stretching that window a lot longer than I'm pretty sure either of us thought he would.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I remember the window being around 30 laps, give or take a couple laps here and there, but he's really getting out there. Granted,
I think he just called pit entry.
Oh, okay. All right, so that makes a little bit of sense. Still pulling it a really big distance. Granted, you can do that. You do have fuel maps available to you. If you put in one of the lower fuel maps and just kind of idle around in the slipstream, you could probably get a lot of mileage, but you definitely got a lot out of that gas tank, almost where I would want to call him down for inspection to the stewards, but he's going to come on down and get service finally on lap 37. Coming to 38. Carey will come in for his service and will be relegated back to 29th. So we'll see how, in the grand scheme of things, how this will play out for him. And I think Rayshard Craig may be a little bit happy because he has one less car to get around and can work on getting back to Christian Steele.
But the teammates at the front might be happy. What this has done, it has created that gap, those top three, a little bit further ahead of Rayshard Craig by about half a second right now. 21, I would not be surprised if he closes that up a little bit, but it's still something interesting to look at as Carey should come out not too far ahead of the leaders here. He's actually just exiting the pits. We'll see if those leaders even get to him.
think he might have a little bit of a gap. I hear him screaming in. Ooh, he gets up really high up there. That's flirting with it. I usually try to stay away from that white line. You can get a little bit away from the markings on the inside. And he'll come out onto the track, and there are the leaders. Not too terribly far ahead, but he will be ahead of them and will still remain on the lead lap.
It looks like, I think Malechka gained another spot past Craig Forsyth, which is what is for now the 15th position. Seb Alexander is rocketing around the outside of Blaze Andrews.
Whoa.
That's tough to do. They almost made contact in the short shoot.
Close quarters indeed. Actually surprised that's the first time you've seen Andrews get passed by anyone other than Jacob Oster. That car might be potentially maybe slipping back. We'll see if he's pushed a little bit too hard, but was really quick early on. Here comes Malechka now around the outside. Wow, that's actually... Has Andrews got a problem? Because he didn't even try to contest that.
It seemed like he got just a lot of air on the nose and he couldn't turn the car. Something's gone wrong with that car. He was rocketing to the front earlier, but kind of falling back at this point, maybe saving his stuff. That's a possibility, but just seems like the car is not under him currently and starting to fade a little bit.
It almost looks like a completely different car.
Right now, yeah. I don't think anything happened to him unless we missed it, but seems like he doesn't have the same speed.
Unless he's trying to maybe save some fuel, potentially, going in a little bit of a fuel saving mode. Maybe figured it's, here's good enough for now, up to 15.
The possibility is going to be in his own little bubble here. He's got gap in front of him now, and Craig Forsyth struggling is the next car behind him after hitting the wall out of turret 4, so he'll have some room to work with. As Adam Blocker, yes, he is still trying to pass Craig, but just can't do it, as Craig has caught back those top 3.
And cannot get past the Indy Alliance Racing machine of Rayshad Craig. Adam Blocker with power slide, trying to work his way on through. He's at it for many laps now. Might have to be at it the entire race. We mentioned Rayshad Craig putting up a good defense against the number 74 machine. And really testing how high you can run an Indy car here in Indianapolis.
I say if anyone's going to find the limit, it's going to be him. I don't think anyone else is trying that line.
The issue is that you really do not want to find the limit in an Indy car, unless it's in practice, because usually that ends up with you in the wall and one of your wheels missing. In a stock car, you can get away with a lot more.
Malechka's got pace. He just got Musselman for 12th now, so he is going to come through the field. He's actually going to get close to Jacob Oster. I thought Oster would come through the field maybe a little quicker as well, but Malechka has been on a tear. Now he'll be chasing down the 16.
And actually,
he's trying to get Tucker.
One of the fastest cars on the racetrack at the moment, by a couple tenths of a second. Granted, he's got a little bit of cleaner air to work with and using some slipstream, but he is one of the quickest guys out there the last couple laps. See how quickly he's catching this pack up ahead, because they're all a little bit in stationary mode and he wants to get past them. Caught back up to Jacob Oster, who didn't start too terribly far down the order, back in 16th compared to Malechka.
Here comes Orman. He's going to make the move on Blocker for the 5th position. Blocker just kind of trying to stay in line, but that aero wash, we talk about it. I've already talked about it, probably said it 20 times today, but it's a big part of IndyCar at Indianapolis, and that's kind of what let Blocker keep the position.
You really can't talk about this type of racing.
We're 3 wide, Tucker, Oster, Malechka. Sorry to cut you off. I think Malechka might have been 4 wide for a moment.
Malechka, whoa, almost got put into the wall. That's fighting with Joshua Tucker there in the 44. Still not done. Malechka wants a spot. He will get around Tucker with an aggressive move around the outside. Let's take a look at what went down heading into turn 1. A 4-way battle. Andrew Wood, Malechka, Tucker, and Oster all in this group heading down the front straightaway. Look at this. There's Oster with the move. Malechka deciding to make a move. He almost made it 4 wide there for a second.
Meanwhile, at the same time, Rayshad Craig finally got passed by Adam Blocker, and it set off kind of a chain reaction. Orman took advantage of it. Also, Brophy took advantage. So Craig goes from in a good spot from 4th. Now he's down to 7th.
Yeah, that happens quite a few times. You get passed by one car, if another car is waiting for you in succession, you're kind of slowing off the pace. They take advantage of it. Andrei Syke also in behind in 76, trying to maybe see if he can take another spot away up to 7th, but Ike looking like he's happy and content with sitting in there at the moment. All these drivers pushing closer to the first green flag pit stops of this race. 27 laps on everyone's tires and fuel. I imagine you're going to see them within the next 5 or so laps. Going to see more and more cars trickle down onto pit lane. 5 to 7 laps, I would say.
Just have to wait and see. And oh wow, that 21's still pushing the limits. He went even higher that lap. But yeah, this will really give us a good example of what the fuel window really is going to be. Oh, that's an IndyCar slide job, but you don't really want to do that a lot.
You clip that concrete on the inside, and that is very slippery. It's curbing. You do not want to touch at 200 miles an hour. It gets that car very upset, but he's hooking that car on the inside. And just enough, he was able to muscle around Andrew Wood back into the top 10 from Lechka. This car is really looking quick.
I thought the 19 was the good car, but he's literally gone 29th to the 9th position. This is an incredible charge. Yeah, one fuel stint. Not even 30 laps in yet. Getting close to it, but not yet. This is an incredible drive, and he's still not done. He's going to have a run here on Andreas Hike possibly in the next set of corners, but like we were talking about, this is going to be that point where we're really going to see what the fuel window is looking like. The 79s was a little skewed. This should give us a better idea.
Yeah, I don't know what he did, spending that minute down in pit lane, but whatever he did, he's helping the car out because he's looking extremely quick in this part of the race.
And it just, yeah.
And on the long run, too, which is the key factor, I would think. He's quick on the long run, not just the short runs. Whoa! Wood in the wall.
Wood. Yeah, that was a pretty good hit. I don't think that was as hard to 99's hit, but that was really all right rear, and that's something that's going to be hard when the right rear gets thrown out of whack. That throws all your adjustments with the wake jacker kind of out the window a little bit as Oster and Tucker almost made contact. Things are getting tight. What I was going to say about Malechka's car, you can tell how much better it is. He's directly behind Jesper Orman through the corner there, and he gains on him. He doesn't really have that much of an effect with the arrow. It's how incredible that car is handling right now. And he
Work pass Andreas Ike, and trying to work with Oster. We're trying to work with Jesper Orman. He's still on the outside. Looks like he's going to put up a little bit more of a fight out of turn 4, but Malechka, that car is still hanging there on the inside.
Yeah, doing a great job right now as Craig got by Orman for that 6th position. So now Orman, he was on the offensive, now trying to defend a little bit here, trying to keep any track position he can before that round of pit stops begins.
I think that's why we're starting to see them get a little bit more racy here. Car is light, the car is quick, and pit stops are approaching, so get your positions now while they're hot. Orman going to keep that defense going. Going to keep Malechka at bay after couple exchanges, a couple fights going back and forth, and it's amazing still how close these guys are running. The entire top 10 is in 1.5 seconds of each other as Brandon Trano makes a trip down to pit lane and locking up the right front. He will get it low down, I think, to 60 miles an hour.
Like David Adams from 18th position came down as well, so when you're running at the front doing that swapping strategy, we went back green on around lap 20, so that's what we were thinking about. 28 full laps, pitting on the 29th lap, I believe is what we saw there. So that's kind of the extent if you're not trying to save some fuel there.
It's been a hot minute. I figured I knew the numbers. I knew I wasn't crazy. This shows you how many laps Brian Carey got out of that tank.
Yeah. What was that? Eight extra laps?
8 extra laps, and even after you take out the caution laps, like 5 extra laps that he was able to get. Yep, he's coming on down. Not too surprised with them because they were both switching back constantly out of the slipstream. Whoa, someone looks like came in there high. That was Craig Forsythe, and he will get it woed on down. We'll keep an eye and try to see if you can see anyone being naughty down on pit lane, anyone getting speeding penalties. If you're going to get it, I guess you might as well get out of the way now. You still got 150 laps left to go to work things out. And here come the leaders on the traffic and some snaking down the back straight. I haven't really seen a lot of that so far.
We'll see that later in the race, but that's just Blocker trying to get the draft as best he can. He's taking the lead. He's taking the lead from Christian Steele, and this will be a little tricky. This might be when Christian Steele and others want to get down to avoid potential lap traffic. They've been catching Brian Carey at the same time, so that strategy might not work for Carey because he's just not as fast, but it seems like they're not going to pit, and Double Zero is going to get back on the lead lap. Seb Alexander is the next driver to pit, not too many this time around. Joe Branch as well.
So slow trickle of cars down onto the pit lane. A couple cars keeping out there longer, and we're going to see a lot of the cars that were been in packs. They're going to be staying out there long because they're able to, not ride the throttle most of the lap, stay off of it, save some fuel to work with.
Here comes a move. Christopher just out of pit lane. He went immediately to the top, so Brofich had to kind of take a little bit of evasive action to get by. Adam Blocker has gotten a bit of a gap over Christian Steele, maybe in part because of getting the tow from the Double Zero. It looks like Steele will hit pit lane. One other, couple
Tucker,
others will bring out down.
Coming on down, Joshua Tucker on down to pit lane. A big lockup from, I think, Andrew Wood. He was lighting those tires up. Good thing he's taking them off.
Yeah, A lot of drivers locking up there.
Yeah.
Murphy, Silva, I think Flynn Lazier as well.
Yeah.
Andrich might have been one of them as well. Andrich actually missed a stall a little bit.
Oh, man. Yeah, don't want to be
Wasn't-
doing that under green flag conditions. He will get it back in quickly, though, and will continue on out there. Oh, and a big separation between Adam Blocker and Jason Brophy.
Yeah, the blocker's gotten away. This is when we're really going to see things potentially get spread out because of all the traffic getting in the way, really messing, not really messing with anything, but just kind of throwing off the whole, you know, just everything that's going on. So it might... Oh, Brophy got... Oh, my goodness.
And Rashad Craig almost clipping the inside wall. Holy cow. Wow.
Oh, my
I
God.
saw him wreck there for a second. Right on board with him. I wonder if this is him just pushing it a little bit too hard. You got to be very careful. The car's very light in the back due to the fuel burn. You can see him already a little bit loose right there. A drift on the pit lane. A couple of maneuvers to the steering wheel, and he's able to mow that down. Oh boy, I'm sure he's going to need a new pair of racing overalls after that. And here's Rashad Craig too. He came in a little bit hot. Whoa, almost put it in the wall.
Oh my gosh.
Just trying to avoid the 53 of Orman. Wow.
That could have been 2 lime green cars just out of the race immediately. You do not get away with that
No, you do
at
not.
Indianapolis, but
And
they
here
have
comes
gotten
Brophy
away
out there.
with it.
Walker remaining out there by himself.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked he's got, this is another driver who I'm kind of shocked he's stretched it this long. This is about 30, kind of working about the 35th lap at this point.
I got to
Actually, it might
imagine
be
he's got to
more
be
than that.
He's almost put the entire field lap down.
Might be working the 36th lap actually, so this is pretty impressive from him. Even when running at the front, he's able to save much more than everyone around him seemingly, as it looks like
He
those
hasn't been
I-5 guys.
I guess what helped him, he hasn't been in the front that long, and I guess we saw him trying to make some moves on Rashad Craig. I guess he was saving more, but here he comes on down. Finally have to yield, and will continue one more lap than everyone else, and that could be crucial depending on the way things time out. Brandon Trano is currently will inherit the lead. Robert Malechko be in second place. Wow,
That's ridiculous how
a
fast
great
he's
run.
been.
This 91, I'll tell you, he should be one of the cars to beat out here. He's absolutely flying out there.
He certainly might be the driver to beat with how fast that 91 is right now. And we've seen, you can now see, this is where the lead will cycle out. You can see how spread out it's gotten. There might be, well, we had maybe the top 10 within a second and a half or something. You might have 5 drivers or 6 drivers within a second and a half now. Much more spread out between about the top 8. After 9th place, I think that'll be Andrew Wood cycling out in 9th. After that, it's a little more packed up.
Here we go. Blocker. Ooh, this will be close here. Trano's got a bit of a run. Blocker still got to get up to speed. So Blocker will come out. He'll get passed by Malechka, potentially, and as well as Akabueze. So he'll sort himself back into 4th. That's a really good run for Blocker. Didn't really lose a whole lot. If anything, I think he might have actually gained 1 spot.
Meanwhile, looking at the only driver to stay out the last cycle, Brian Carey, it looks like he's going to cycle out in the 12th, which, in fairness, that's going to be about a 9-position gain, so it has worked out. But he'll still be on an alternate strategy, so we'll see if that gets worse or not.
Malechka trying to do battle. Christian Steele back in 5th. Again, has to finish ahead of Trano, and Trano's got to really crash out, I think, now, essentially, for him to have a shot. That's a big 82-point gap buffer, and he made up a lot in the second half of the season that we've been covering on Sim TV. Made it very close, but Trano's been fighting back and showing he's got what it takes to take another championship. Was the championship winner of season 9. Took it by 7 points ahead of Adam Blocker.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything going Christian Steele's way as far as the title, but still a very fast car. I don't think he's really focusing on the title anyways. If I had to guess, he's really trying to just win the Indianapolis 500 at this point, and he might even take that over a championship. Who knows? But either way, everyone wants to win here. And what we've seen after this pit cycle is now we have almost 2 or 3 separate packs. The top 9 are separated by about 2 seconds, but then it's another about 1.5 seconds back to Andreas Eich in the 10th position. He just got by Andrew Wood. He's actually pulling away from Wood at this point, but we'll kind of see 2 distinct packs within the top 15, top 20 right now because of those pit cycles.
You see Andreas Eich going through the gears as well, back from down to 5th to 6th, and really 6th is really your overspeed option for these cars when you're up there. Again, you're getting a slipstream on another car to get that. Otherwise, you want to kind of stay in 5th gear to get a little bit more boost out of the corners. As Ike looks like he is closing in about a 10th a lap. Once you head to around 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds, which is what he's hovering around right now, the gap behind Crayshot Craig. You'll start to get that slipstream, a solid slipstream from the car up ahead. And there's the gap back to Wood, who's surprisingly not been able to catch. Car's not looking as good, but Brian Carey, I got to say, he's come back out in 12th here. And he will eventually have to come back down in about 10 to 12 laps.
Ooh, someone else pitting. Oh, nope, that's Andrich. Did he have a hit with the wall, or did he and Forsyth have contact? They really both lost momentum there.
Yeah, they're running side by side here in 3 and 4. He's heading into turn 4 between both of them. And then they got a little bit close to each other off the corner. Whoa.
Yeah, they made contact for sure. There's another instance where Andrich is just kind of just going elbows out, but it looked like he kind of pulled up in front of Forsyth, but at the same time, I think Forsyth kind of came down the track a little bit. They kind of just met in the middle. But either way, they got away with it. Yeah, Andrew Wood's having real issues this run. He's not able to keep pace. Andreas Ike's gapped him big time. 10s per lap faster.
Yeah, Brian Carey trying to work past 64. You can see everyone kind of stacking up in behind here as well. AJ Musselman, Flynn Lazier, Jacob Oster caught back here as well. And just as he looked like he was getting clear out of the midfield, he's stuck back here now fighting with Lazier. Whoa, makes a move to the inside, outside. He's trying to figure out which way he wants to go. Bit undecided there.
Yeah, definitely undecided. They're all trying to get Andrew Wood out of the way because it seems like a lot of these drivers, I think, can catch those front 10, but it's really tough as Flynn Lazier just slid up in front of Jacob Oster in the background. Wood now in behind Brian Carey. Oster a little too wide there.
Try to pull the Rayshon Craig line, could not do it. Yeah, definitely a line you could pull in 1 and 3, maybe not 2 and 4. I think a lot harder to pull off.
He was like only a lane off the wall. That's a little too much, but I'm kind of surprised. He has not been able to really get through the field like I thought he would. He's now back in 15th position. He restarted about 19th, so just not the progress I thought he would have.
Taking a look at the leaders up ahead, how they run. Mleczka and Treno now trading positions. Akboise, Blocker, Steele, your top 5. Running in formation. Battle right there in behind. Ooh, Flynn Lazier and Oster. Thought I almost saw Lazier get into the wall a little bit. And Oster, I can imagine, getting a little bit impatient here, and Lazier going to get the slipstream on the front straightaway.
Yeah, so there's not much you can do when they get the slipstream. You're kind of just hoping someone gives you a little bit of draft, hoping Musselman kind of slips down and helps you out, but that's just not, it's rarely going to happen.
And
as looks like Wood's gotten back by Brian Carey, so these two are going to start swapping positions. They cost themselves a lot of time. We're starting to see, now it's really looking like the top 10 are going to be getting away, because Andreas Ike was able to get by Wood pretty quickly, and he's caught those top 9.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to be maybe a plan, and maybe Carey and Wood are going to do a bit of a truce here, maybe slipstream past each other, a little bit of leapfrog action going to try to get on through. In behind, here's Musselman out of line from Lazier muscling his way through, and Oster trying to join as well, but can't.
They got Blaze Andrich trying to come back through the field to 17th. Can't really get a run on Seb Alexander. I don't think they should be swapping with Wood. It just doesn't seem like the 64 has the pace right now. That's kind of why we saw the 76 of Ike get away, and he's not really able to stay close to Brian Carey at certain points. So I think these drivers are probably just going to try to focus on passing that 64. It doesn't seem like
and they are also losing out on time here. Here's the last lap times for these drivers. 41.4 for Brian Carey. Andreas Ike, the tail driver in that leading 10 cars, ran a 40.9, so running almost half a second off a lap. That's not the pace that they need to get going. We'll see how it updates here, because that top field is starting to get stacked up a little bit more. Ike across the line. That was a 40.895. Brian Carey a little bit quicker that time, 41.3, but still losing overall.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done. It's really starting to see these two packs get further and further apart because of that, as Oster's going to look to the outside of Lazier this time. Whoa. I think this time he'll have the move done with a little bit of a squeeze, but he's got it that time. Carey back by Andrew Wood. And we'll see if Oster's going to try to be the aggressor. That's a huge run into turn number 3. I think he's trying to get by these two as well.
Yeah, he saw what Carey was struggling with early on. He's saying, nope, I'm not having any of this. You can visibly see the frustration in the way Oster's driving. He wants to get up there, back near the front. There's that one mistake on the first and only caution we've had this race, costing him dearly. And here comes Flynn Lazier back by him. And it's costing him dearly, putting him back down the order. Again, still a lot of racing left to go, but for a driver, it feels like a turning beating back there.
Yeah, especially for him after running top 5, being in the swapping regimen very comfortably, but now he's got to run in Andrew Wood 5-6 miles an hour faster. He'll have to run until Carey gives the 64 to slipstream, but Oster has a run. He might take both of them in turn number 3. He's going to try, hit the curbing. on the concrete a little bit, but he kept it in it, and he still might get both of them.
I think he wants to try to see if he can push past Carey on the exit. He will just get past him. Carey not done yet, though. He's going to get a big slipstream down into turn 1. Wood. Lazier also pulling out to the left-hand side. He's going to get 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. Lazier's trying to see if he can get her on.
Yeah, be careful. He's going to have a big wash-up. Carey almost nailed the wall out of turn number 2. I don't think either of these drivers... I feel like I think Oster's came with a radio saying he wants to work together, but it seems like Lazier... Didn't look like it. I don't think these drivers are quite organized yet, and that's really why they've lost so much time. They're now 4 seconds behind the tail end of that top pack, Andreas Ike.
Here's a move that Oscar made. You're going to see right here coming off of turn 4. Didn't leave a lot of space. As soon as he was clear, just came flying in front of Carey to secure the deal.
And it causes a stack up where we saw Lazier
back
get the
line.
huge
Here comes
run.
Lazier with a big run down the front straightaway. Can't really block that.
Maybe these two will swap because I think these might be the 2 faster cars.
I think for them, if they swap, they can work. I think between Wood, with whatever's going on with his car at the moment, and Carey again with his older tires and his offside strategy, I don't think they're definitely the cars you want to keep near the front of the pack. But I think these two switching, I think they definitely got a shot. And they're actually even pulling a gap down to Andrew Wood. So Wood, I don't know if he's hit the wall or something, but there's definitely something going on with that 64 car because he's even slow in the straight line.
Yeah, just not quite as fast. I don't think has hit the wall, but just the handling's not there.
Okay,
Alexander. Yep. So, yeah, he's obviously not able to go as long this time. He pit lap 37. So it's still about a 30-lap run. Still probably structured a lap longer than the drivers at the front. And we'll see where he cycles this time. He'd probably go a full lap down this time as these two leaders still swapping and going way down to the bottom, because why not? Malechka and Treno at the top working together right now.
You wouldn't be surprised if we saw them saw him fall a lap down because he was in the second group, which is a noticeable way behind. Taking an update to see here. Now, Wood in the wall. Man. Hard hit.
Is that Wood?
Yeah, that is Wood. Oh, and I think he might wreck here. That car is damaged, and he's going to have to try to get the pit lane. I don't think he will. He will not get the pit lane.
Someone else, David Adams, on pit entry, crashed avoiding it. And no yellow.
No. Oh boy, let's see what happened here. We'll take a look at what happened with Wood first, because he was the one that set this whole chain in motion off. Clipped the grass on the inside. Car stepped out, into the wall he went. And then with David Adams.
And it's just broken at this point. Everyone's trying to avoid.
Oh, he got loose.
He got loose.
Oh, man, and a hard hit on the inside wall. Really amazing caution did not come out there.
Yeah, I don't know how it came out for the Altina machine, not that one, because that was even more dangerous, obviously. I don't even know if Wood hit the grass, but that concrete curbing, that might have been enough. And when you keep it pinched to the bottom on exit like that, you're almost always going to get loose. That was a huge hit as well. We saw that with, I believe, Brophy, and it was the same sort of thing where you're keeping it pinched low on exit, and the rear end will just come out because of that. So that's really an unfortunate break for David Adams. Obviously, a tough break for Wood, whose car was not handling well either, as he's still trying to bring it down pit lane. And that might be 2 more retirements. That might be number 5 and number 6.
We'll see Wood. I think Wood has a much higher chance of continuing onwards. I think for David Adams, might be race over for him. That'll bring us down to 27 cars still running after just about halfway. I should say halfway through to quarter. Can't do math at the moment, but a little bit over a quarter of a way through.
Well, we're almost halfway in a Brickyard 400, but different cars. You could tell how much better Lazier and Oster were for the front of that pack, though. They've got no pressure behind them now. AJ Muswin, I think, catching them a little bit, but still well off them. And they're
doesn't look like they're exactly catching. That being said, they're holding station. If anything, I think they're taking bite-sized chunks out. I think they're about on pace, taking a couple hundreds, a tenth here and there, which is much better than they were losing a couple tenths a lap.
Yeah, definitely for sure. As Orman tried to take a look at Brophy, couldn't do it. Joshua Tucker tapped the wall out of 2 again. He hasn't full-on hit it yet, but he's been flirting with it all race. That's at least the second tap I've seen him have. But he's maintaining right now, as now it's an 11-car pack at the front with Brian Carey a lap down, tagging along.
He's going to be on for the ride, save some fuel, just kind of ride it out.
Might be his best bet.
Going to have to wait for a caution to come his way. That's come at the right time, though. I think he's going to ideally want it when he gets back on the lead lap with everyone.
we are starting to see a little bit of a gap in the middle of this front pack. Last time by, it was about 2.5 tenths between Steele's lap and Jason Brophy's lap, so those top 5 are a little bit closer to pulling away, at least.
Yeah, Brophy is running a little bit slower, about 0.6 of a second separating him. Not a huge gap, but a noticeable gap, especially compared to the way they've been running this race.
As far as the leaders, we saw Treno come down the earliest out of anyone. That was about lap 49. And that means we're probably maybe 5-6 laps away from his next pit stop.
Yeah, I think so. We're coming up on it quickly here. The leaders exchange again. And I think we'll take this time. I wanted to go through the field here and kind of see, because, again, there are a couple things we can see visually on the car as far as setup changes. And I was trying to find them out in practice, but for the most part, when it comes to the front wing, so I got a good chance to look at the front wicker. That's a bit of carbon fiber. I'll switch between a couple cars here. You can see a bit of carbon fiber on the back part of the wing. Gives these cars a little bit of downforce more on the front end. And from what I can tell as we look through the field, look at the driver names up so we can look at it. So that was Malechka, Treno, Akboise. Then I got Adam Blocker, Christian Steele, Jason Brophy, Jesper Orman, Joshua Tucker, Rachel Craig, Andreas Ike. Not a lot of variation in that wicker. There's, I think, about 3 different, or 1 or 2 different, I think 2 or 3 different versions that you can run half and full on the front. A bit more variation on the rear wing.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot more variations. We're going to look through a lot of the changes. Lazier, Oster, maybe not too many changes. Some of them may be a little bit different, but it just shows how many changes you can really make to, some of the, maybe to some more insignificant parts of the car, but they're anything but insignificant.
Yeah, and of course,
very important.
And of course, you can make a much more changes to this car. This is just one of the visual changes you can see. You can fine-tune the suspension, tire pressures. You can change in the car the front and rear anti-roll bars. That's an adjustment these cars have on the fly that they can use, as well as the weight jacker. That's the big one that a lot of people play with throughout this race and throughout a run. As we look through, yeah, it doesn't look like there's any single variation on the front wing. And for the rear wing, I'll spare everyone. The only variation I noticed on the rear wing wicker is with Andrew Marquez. He's got, I think, the most amount of rear downforce, so that more of that wicker gives you more rear downforce. And the car pours more at the expense of more drag. Everyone else in front of him that I can tell has got slightly less
smaller.
Wicker. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing, I don't think anyone's really going to be that. That's kind of it's working for Marquez, I'm sure, from a handling standpoint. But if it would be tough for him to lead a race because of that extra downforce. So I'm sure he's happy with 16th. But if he got up into the front, it'd be a little tougher for him to battle for that win later. I'm always interested. You can't really see the weight jacker changes, but I believe that's a change to the right rear. They'll raise and lower it. It'll change the balance doing that. Where if you're in dirty air, you're probably going to try to go plus on that just to loosen up the car a little bit, or at least get a little bit more oversteer in it, just so it rotates better. That possibly could have been what Malechko was working with to get through the field as quickly as he did. That's one of the more fascinating changes I try whenever I'm running an IndyCar race, because even in the fixed series, you can change that. It's a little bit of an open fix scenario.
Yeah, I'm so glad you can change it, because that's a big part of this kind of racing. It helps make it a lot closer for these drivers.
100%, and I'm sure, I can promise you, especially the guys at the front, but everyone in this field still remaining are drivers that are working that weight jacker every lap, trying to get the best balance possible. They're working on the wheel, as long as they have a wheel that they have the buttons for. They are working everything possible with engine mapping for fuel saving as well. They're doing everything they can to have the best handling and the best fuel mileage as well possible.
And the thing is, you don't know, while the setup definitely helps, it's not everything. And I remember Riley Thompson was running one of these races a couple of years ago. Was just using the fixed setup and managed to get that car. He was running up there in the top 5, top 7, for the most of the race, and we thought that he had a really good setup, and we ended up talking to him, I think before the race finished. We did an in-race interview with him, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm just running the iRacing fixed setup. And we were like, oh, that's really surprising.
Interesting, yeah. Gary Lawford came to pit lane the previous lap, and I thought I heard on the radio that we should be seeing Treno this time. He's dropped back to second behind Malechka. We'll see if this is the lap. This is lap 80, and yes, he will.
Yeah, he'll come on in, get low down to 60 miles an hour. And be setting off the next set of pit stops. So about 30 laps on him, which is what we expect. It looks like I think a little bit less exchanging there on this run. So he's out there, I think, the longest. I think next we're going to see would probably be Malechka.
not be surprised. He pit maybe a lap after, so it would make sense if he's coming in this next lap. I believe John Christensen hit pit lane from 25th. Malechka's actually gotten the gap over Akaboise because of the 9 pitting when he did, so maybe this will help him a little bit. 1 extra lap previous run. We'll see if he does the same here. Yes, he will. So he comes down. Only one of the top 5 to come down. Really, the only one in that front pack to come down.
Kevin Akaboise will inherit the lead of this race. Adam Blocker has quite a few laps left he can go. Hamilton Akaboise has been out there 31 laps now. Blocker 26.
Yeah, we should see the 74 go the longest out of anyone. This could loom large later in the race, but we just don't quite know how that's going to play out until we get to that point, as now this will be a swap for the lead, as looks like Joshua Tucker is going to come down this time. That is another driver from the lead line. Christopher also calling his pit in as well.
Rocketing out of turn 4. No takers from most of the lead pack. Joshua Tucker will be coming on down. And the second pack works their way on through. I think, was that David Adams?
Musselman.
He will come
Adams out of the race. Adams out of the race, I believe. Right. Stouffer's now in. Big lockup. Waiting for a mistake. These drivers are pushing the limits on that pit entry, but knock on wood, nothing wrong yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we've seen anyone down there for a while. Oop, as I say that, Craig Forsyth, he has been down there for a while.
Well, darn.
I think he might have been the first one to have an issue on pit lane. See, let's ride on board with him coming out of pit lane. One of the first drivers we noticed speeding out in the pit lane. Whoa, oh, no, it wasn't speeding.
I mean, it is a mistake, but that is not speeding. That was dead on the right front, and you could see in the steering wheel immediately how bent that suspension got. So I'm going to take partial blame for that. That is unfortunate. Andrew Marquez just came down, but yeah, like we were talking about, easy to make that mistake, especially if you have a little bit of a different braking technique. You're probably going to not be using a lot of brake here, but if you're not careful, you have too much rear brake in it, or just using too much of the pedal in general, the rear will snap around and the walls are right to your left and right, and that's almost certainly ending his race. That bent the suspension big time, as Akaboise is going to be the next leader to come down.
Yeah, guys quite literally flying into the pit lane at speed there. I see Oster as well as Lazier coming on down. And there is also
19, Andrich.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where on earth he's running there. He's in 14th place, Andrich. Having a much quieter second part of this race.
Joe Branch down as well.
And Joe Branch,
I'm interested.
Talked a lot about him.
Yeah, I was just interested to see where these top 2 come out. They're pitting the earliest out of anyone, really, Malechka and Treno, but obviously now they're putting down very fast times while being the only 2 in this swapping technique. They're well ahead of Joshua Tucker, who was in that top 10 line. So these 2 might be the first ones to maybe pull away fully. They fully cleared Akaboise, who's just exiting pit lane.
There goes Blocker. And getting past Oster and Flynn Lazier as they come back out on the track, and I'm sure Oster wished he was in second place in behind Blocker, not relegated way down the order. He is currently in 15th, waiting on more drivers to come on down.
Still waiting on about the top 10, actually. Blocker all the way back to the 5 of John Silva, who we haven't talked about much today. And no, Blocker staying out another lap, so he's doing a good job stretching this both times. Here comes a lot of drivers. Orman, Craig, and I believe that was Andreas Ike. So there's 3 drivers from that line in, as Blocker lets Christian steal through.
More and more drivers coming on down. As more and more leaders stay out. Steele, Blocker, Jason Brophy will get to come on down in the top 3. Highest running driver that has come down is Brandon Treno, and he's fighting with Robert Malechka, so effectively for the lead once this gets sorted out.
And this is going to be interesting. These 2 might be on their own when they come out of pit lane. They're running fast laps while doing this as well. Akaboise was faster on his own a little bit. We'll see if he can get back into that fight as they're coming around more drivers coming off the pit lane, but Treno and Malechka in the 40.9, 41 flat bracket, they are 10ths faster than Adam Blocker and Christian Steele, so they could be opening up a big gap here.
Good work out for them very well. You definitely want at least 2 cars together. 1 car by themselves, you're going to be potentially losing out. But But if you can do that leapfrog back and forth with each other, that little tango, you can make up some speed if you time it right, if you execute it right. And from what it looks like, Trano and Mushka are doing exactly what they need to.
Here comes Christian Steele down. Blocker does not come down with him, so Steele will just be in on his own here. He will be the only one down this time by. Should not be too much longer for Blocker, but he has very well and clearly been the best at fuel saving today. Kind of like Scott Dixon usually is in real life IndyCar, so maybe a little bit of Scott Dixon in the 74 tonight. He pit lap 55. He is still on track 33, working the 34th lap, I believe, of this run.
And there is Jacob Osser getting his lap back. He'll be back on the lead lap. That leaves 11 cars out there. So running on the lead lap at the moment with Blocker staying out. Only driver yet to pit.
Christian Steele's coming out of pit lane now. Jesper Orman's gone by him. Looks like Brophy and Tucker will come down. He'll pass him as well. And he's going to cut in front of Tucker, but Tucker will get that position done easily. And caution! We got a crash somewhere.
John Silva.
Got to be in the 5. And he'd either just come down or was exiting the pits.
See what happened here. I saw them fighting down the straightaway. I'm going to assume these are two teammates fighting here, which is going to make this even worse.
This is really going to throw a wrench at things. There were a lot of drivers a lap down.
This is Vinicius that he's fighting with.
Oh man! Oh my goodness!
Oh, Stouffer!
Stouffer, I didn't even know he was involved. My goodness!
Wow, that is one of the worst wrecks I've seen.
Oh my goodness, that was horrific. You said those were teammates battling for position as well.
Yeah, that was
for the 18th position. Oh my goodness, that's just not a mistake. That's just not something that can happen.
So Vinicius making a move, slides up in front of his teammate, and then Stouffer ramps off.
It's like Vinicius knew he wasn't going to make the corner, and then he completely lifted off of it, but the 5 was on fresh tires, so Silva was able to make that work, but obviously they came together because of the big lift by Vinicius. You'll see it just right here, kind of stop.
Oh, man.
That's a big mistake by, really the driver ahead, but it's really not something that can happen at all.
Riding on board with Stouffer now. Hold on to your lunches. It's going to be a wild ride.
It's 2 horrific crashes.
There's nothing Stouffer could really do.
He was almost through it if he could have just swerved left, but he just can't react that quickly. Meanwhile, Adam Blocker's got to come down to pit lane.
Oh boy, and just like that, I think we have 3 cars potentially out of it.
Yeah, I would say they're for sure done. That's going to put our attrition rate... Oh, I'm trying to count. We might have 10 drivers out of the race after that.
A lot of leaders coming on back down. Pretty much every car I think that's on the lead lap will be coming back down just to top off on fuel. Let's see if any of them are going to be staying out. Nope, they will all come on down. That's going to be good news to everyone behind because they will be getting the free pass to ride around past the ride around past the pace car. So that'll leave the top 22 to get a wave around. And that was big news for Brian Carey because he will be out and in 14th. So the strategy worked out nearly 100 laps later.
Yeah, it's all come full circle. This is going to be an interesting one for sure because we're probably going to restart with about 105, 106 laps to go. So for a driver like Adam Blocker, who's been getting maybe 5, 6 extra laps of fuel, this would play in his favor. But with Brandon Trano's strategy going 30 laps a run, you'd probably need a splash of fuel if this went green to the end. So we're probably going to see some more intense fuel saving in this run possibly from a lot of drivers. We might see a lot of strategies change this time.
So as they run now, it's going to get interesting. So looks like we're going to have Christian Steele, the race leader, Joshua Tucker, Rayshad Craig, Adam Blocker, Robert Malechka, your top 5. So a bit of a shake-up there. Then Trano, Orman, Akabayeze, Brophy, Ike, your top 10.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers who are going to be on older rubber at this point as well, so that'll really throw a wrench in these guys' strategies as well. These guys are going to have Well, you're not going to really be able to wait.
I was going to say, actually, Brian Carey, he's still not on the same strategy as everyone. He's still 22 laps to start, didn't pit, so he's still off strategy, actually.
He will get waived. Lazier will not, as we do have the one to green. Now he'll go. I just don't know what he's waiting. Can't wait. You got to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need to go now. These pace laps are critical, though. They can get up to speed at 200 miles an hour, and there is a bunch of Indy cars going around at pace speed, at full pace, trying to get their laps back.
Goodness, sorry. Jimmy, former Indy 500 runner Jimmy Johnson just got destroyed. I was looking at that.
Oh, he's running today at Kansas?
Not anymore. Someone booted him. He had a good run, and he had a good run going in this race in real life. Went away. This is everyone 12th. So everyone 12th to really everyone 12th on back who's still in this race has taken a wave around, minus Lorenzo Bonder, who I think was just a lap down on pace. Paolo Vinicius, he actually is still in this race. He's now 2 laps down, but so I guess the attrition rate's now only 9, but that's still pretty big considering. Besides that crash, there hasn't been too many.
No, haven't been a lot of multi-car incidents here, as it looks like we're getting the tail end of late rounds. Are catching back up, and we'll get sorted, re-racked, restacked, and ready to go. A new race leader. A couple of shakeups inside the top 10. We'll see how it's going to play out there as we get ready to roll to green. Steele off and away. We're back green here in Indianapolis.
So it'll be interesting for those. I don't believe those top 2 pits, Steele and Tucker, had just came down. Actually, Tucker had been on track for about 8 or 9 laps, but Christian Steele had just come to the pits, so they are also going to be a little bit off strategy from Blocker on back, minus the wave rounds.
Yeah. Off to the races they will go, though. Tucker going to immediately try to take the lead away. He will do so. Christian Steele will have to settle for second place. Adam Blocker, then Malechka trying to catch back up to speed. And he was probably thinking in his head this is going to be more of a battle between himself and Trano, but they're now back 4th and 5th, 3 cars ahead of them.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, we've gone green now. We went green with 107 to go, so I don't think even with Adam Blocker's fuel saving you can really make that work. So if you might not have any fuel saving strategies going on, because I don't think you can make that work. So we might even see these drivers go all out right now. We'll just have to see.
So what Blocker will do, he's catching up to Christian Steele at a pretty quick pace. Will not make a move. I do see a move in further behind. Jacob Oster is trying to catch him. There he goes, trying to surf past Rayshot Craig. He's finally back inside the top 10.
I was about to say the same thing. He hasn't been in the top 10 since lap 20 when that first yellow happened. So about time he finally get up there. We'll see what types of moves he can make now. He'll have a little bit of a run on Ike, but he won't be close enough to battle as we're hitting the highest speeds we've seen all race. Oster just hit 234 in the turn number 1 is in the background, 3 wide around the lap traffic of Lorenzo Bonder, who's just letting the field by. That was Marquez and Andrich getting through.
Yeah, just trying to stay out of the way. Let the leaders come on through. Speaking of which, here's Blocker on the back. He's getting so close to the back of Tucker. He almost makes me feel like he's going to make a move. But he's been backing out of it every single time. I think at the moment he's happy sitting in 3rd. He knows that if he wants to, at any time he can try to take this lead away.
I just don't think he really, suppose he doesn't want to. Maybe he's happy with how his car is, but we'll see Adam Blocker. Maybe he is still playing the fuel game because he's not going to attempt to make a pass, and Ramalechka is just kind of hanging back as well.
That was a speed there of 230 miles an hour past the yard of bricks at the start-finish line. Taking a look at just how fast these guys are going.
Sense of speed, it's pretty wild.
It is really wild. Take a look at Flynn Lazier trying to make a move on Rayshot Craig, who's now starting to slip back, which is a bit surprising because he looked like he had some really solid pace at the start of this race as a cloud dips over the racetrack. I'm wondering if maybe the weather is maybe shaking things up just a little bit. It's actually gotten hotter since the start of the race.
Yeah.
Went up 3 degrees centigrade.
I believe the race started at noon sim time,
yes.
So that comes Oster. He's going around the outside of Ike. Meanwhile, live, you can see at bottom of the screen, that's for the 9th position, and he will get it done. But yeah, that track temp has gone up a little bit more. We might see near the end of this race it start to dip down a little bit, but this is probably the most slick that this track will be, I would think.
We'll see. I kind of agree with you. It's about 130 in the sim, so might, if anything, maybe it get a little bit hotter, but that cloud's coming over. Might start to cool it down a little bit. As fuel works on through lap 99, almost to halfway here in the Indianapolis 500. Let's just have to look up how much 47 degrees Celsius is, because I cannot do the math in my head. It is 116 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Yep, iRacing says 116, 117, so just around there. Also, can't forget about the winds to the north, about 8-10 miles an hour right now. That will play a factor on your strategy as well, so you got to be wary of that if you're trying to make changes to your car as well. Got to be paying attention as much as you can pay attention to where that cloud's coming, if there's going to be cloud cover near the end of this race, as we're starting to work the halfway point of this race, coming to start lap 100.
Starting lap 100, almost there to that point. Everyone lined to stern. We still have 23 of our 33 starters running. Actually, sorry, correction, that's a couple more than that. We've got 26.
Oh yeah, Andrew Wood is back on track, 12 laps down. He is. Then Vinicius 2 down, Bonder's 1 down, Forsyth is 8 down. But everyone else, that's about 7 drivers firmly right now out of this race. As who will lead lap 100? Probably Christian Steele, but you never know.
Well, Brandon Trano, I'll tell you, he will take at least 4th place away from Malechka. Made a dive in turn 3. Executed it strongly. I see a move there. I think Hamilton Aquaboys are trying to make a move on Orman, but as they come across the start-finish line, we are officially halfway through the Indianapolis 500 here. Another 100 laps to go.
Remember, they used to do I think the one Daytona 500, they used to do a bonus for the halfway leader. That'd be funny to happen. But I don't think Steele gets anything special. I'm sure he was wishing for some extra championship points for it, but not the case. But he's 100 laps away from an Indy 500, possibly.
I was going to say, hey, you know, this, if anything, this is the one series in car where you can argue this one race is more important than the rest of the calendar with the championship, with just how much prestige is behind the Indianapolis 500. Some drivers rather have that than a championship. And if he can't get the championship, this is definitely a great consolation prize, I would say.
I would say so. Alexander Rossi's one of those. He, you know, with his real-life situation at McLaren, you never know if he's going to fight for a title, but you'll always have that Indianapolis 500. Same goes for Marcus Ericsson. It is obviously one of the most special honors you can have as a race car driver to win at the Yard of Bricks. And some of these drivers trying to add their name to that list. Some drivers trying to get back on top, which we do have some former winners in this series, in this race.
Yeah, Robert Malechka, one of them, a former champion in this series, and I believe former winner of the 500 off the top of my head.
Believe so.
Oster running in behind. I was taking a look at Malechka. He's got Boley out of position after he got passed by Trano, Orman, and Aquaboys have both gotten around him. Oster is trying to get around him as well, but Oster finally nearly, again, 100 laps later on, finally back up around where he should be in 8th place. He's had a long day in the office. The low of 19th. Took him a while to get back here.
Yeah, meanwhile, kind of starting to fade is Rashad Craig a little bit. Now he's back to 12th. He had been top 10 most of this race, but not able to really do anything right now. Once again, he's still that driver who's been pushing the limits of that higher line all race long, but it's not really working well. And it's possible he might be trying to work that higher line and work different lines because his car just might not be handling well. It might not have the speed, so he's searching around trying to find something. He's found himself at 12th at this point.
Yeah, now we start to enter a different phase of this race where the laps now are starting to get, the mileage is really starting to tick down. Now we're over that halfway point. Less of the race remaining than before, where there was more that they had to look forward to. So now that you're going to start to see drivers maybe turn it up a little bit, and maybe start to see some more drivers come to the front. Flynn Laziere's been slowly inching that number 8 car, and when we saw him battling with Oster, this car seemed to have some decent pace. Started back down in 21st, but has been making a steady climb forward up to 11. And not much really place to go for the rest of these drivers, because again, their old line is stern here after that restart. Old nose to tail, might have to wait for another set of green flag pit stops to really kick things off again.
Well, we're definitely seeing a little bit of strategy. A lot of people staying in line. As I say that, Akaboise took a look at Orman but couldn't make that pass. But everyone down the straightaway is really staying in line, kind of just coasting a little bit, saving the fuel as much as they possibly can. So definitely seeing a little bit of games played with the fuel right now. Not something we really saw since the initial run, the first 17-lap run of the race. But right now, it seems like everyone has an agenda trying to stretch as far as they can. Besides the race leader, Christian Steele, who's kind of just setting the pace at this point.
So you're trying to get past Andres Ike. Well, trying to make a move on the inside in turn 3. Set up a move in 4 as the caution will fly. Oh, Blaze Andrich.
Carey, maybe.
Oh.
Was it? Well, Carey came down to pit lane. That was weird. It's almost like it might have been bad timing.
I think Carey had a pit because he was running. Oh, nope, that was definitely Andrich. You saw his black car appear in the frame there. I think Carey was running low on fuel. What happened to Andrich here? That's a wheel disconnect or something. He just went straight on.
Yeah, that's at least the second hardware failure. And yeah, certainly, like you said, that's a easy to spot hardware failure when it goes straight and it seems like you're on the brakes
right there,
like
there's a wheel in the center. Yep. Oh, looks like the wheel got disconnected, but he still had control of the pedals, the opposite of what Julian Altona had earlier on. And what I'm interested in here is, did Brian Carey get a penalty for coming? Because you're not allowed to come into the pits once the caution flies. So we'll see here. Look at the wheel. See where the caution goes. It might have been close.
Yellow was... Yeah, he was already committed to pit entry. There's nothing he could do at that point. That's like worst case scenario. Yeah. He did not come into his box. He's actually reset because I think he figured that penalty was not going to get cleared. So he reset. He might have just called it a night as the rest of the field pitting.
What's the penalty for an enclosed pit? Is it a solid black?
I think it might have been a stop and hold. Yeah.
Or unfortunate timing. Definitely has a case to be made for being allowed to. I'm sure in real life they might. I don't even know what they would do in real life. They throw you a bone because there's a point where you can't swerve to avoid the wall.
I feel like it would be tail end. I feel like a NASCAR might be tail end.
Right.
But obviously, Sport is off of pit road. Looks like Steele got Trano barely. But yeah, that's just. It's worst case scenario. You can't do anything about it if you try swerving back onto the track. Not only you probably hit the wall, but even to get back on track, you're probably going to swerve and hit someone else. So it's a lose-lose scenario, really, and it's definitely ruined Brian Carey's day.
Taking a look there, there's a race off of pit road. It looks like Christian Steele's ahead. Indeed, he will be. Trying to let him on by. So Steele will lead the field on down to the restart, and I think after halfway, take this time to take a little bit of a break. Get reset. Well, these drivers had a pit stop. I think we'll go take a quick pit stop as well, and we'll be back here for the restart.
The beginnings were humble.
My dad's story is basically the American dream.
We became refugees in our own country, and my dad said, "I think we're going to America."
But the legend grew quickly.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of trophies coming home. At that point, he started to know that something was different from the ordinary dad, for sure.
Then passed from a father to the son.
Michael, for instance, he was born with a steering wheel in his hands.
All the things that we've been able to do in this sport that we really love, and we live and breathe it.
The ultimate satisfaction, to be able to pursue something that sometimes seems impossible. Impossible dreams in our lives have become reality.
And to finish 1, 2, 3, Andretti is just unbelievable.
Boys, move over. Danica Patrick wins a twin ring.
The racing season is complete, and Michael Andretti is the champion.
He's going to win the race and the championship.
Michael, then John, then Mario. The top 3 positions all belong to Andretti.
Second flag. You just won the Indy 500, baby.
Man becomes legend. Legend becomes legacy. Legacy becomes empire.
Welcome back here to the Indianapolis 500, the 9th running here for the Indy Elite Series. Lap 108 coming to lap 109, just past halfway and getting ready for the restart here. The field working their way out of turn 4. And with the drivers with another pit stop under the belt, we'll see what they can do and how they can get this race back going again. It's going to be Christian Steele, Trano, Blocker, Tucker, and Orman, your top 5. Off and away they go. We are back green here at Indianapolis. Couple moves further down the order, and it looks like no big moves down into turn 1 for the restart. At the very least, Steele trying to break away from Trano. Get some laps led under his belt. Adam Blocker quietly sitting in 3rd place as he has been all race. Here comes Trano with the move to the inside.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be some crazy part of this race. Restart with 92 to go. Probably have to save a little bit of fuel to make it, but that 2-stop, as long as you do save that little bit of fuel, it should be able to work out.
How about Joshua Tucker with a move as well? Also trying to get past Christian Steele here at the line. He will not get past, and Christian Steele will almost get clear of him on the outside as Blocker makes a move.
By the way, I think we missed a crash actually under yellow. Paolo Vinicius has crashed on pit lane, and he was still in the race. He
Alexander Ball is down on pit lane as well. Oh, wow.
I think they crashed under yellow.
I think they did, yeah. We went away for a little bit. Hang on, we got to see what happened here.
What in the world?
Oh, this on the restart. Got to see this. A big checkup. You typically see this. Whoa, that was...
Yeah. Man, it's another wild ride. That was... Yeah, that was under... That must have been on the restart.
It was on the restart as they're getting back up to speed. Fortunately launched off, and another one will bite the dust.
That was Lorenzo Bonder, the other car involved. But either way, it didn't bring out the yellow because they got reset, so we still restart with 92 to go. And like we were saying, the 2-stop's definitely in play, and these drivers might really be battling for track position now.
Oh, and a big move. How Jesper Orman coming on through 1, 2, make it 3. A big move down into turn 3, and he'll get up to 2nd place. Joshua Tucker taking the lead of this race.
Yeah, we saw Trano when he has been kind of swapping at the front. He's only able to make it 30 laps. That's not going to work if this goes green to the end. So we're going to see a little bit more reserved ride from Trano and others who couldn't make that number this time around.
Riding on board on the back of Orman. Taking a look at Tucker as well. They make their way on through.
Different crop of drivers at the front.
Try to see if these two teammates can work together, take control of this race away. From Brandon Trano, Christian Steele, and Adam Blocker have been up near the front for most of the day. Robin Malechka back in 6th. Akabueze, Oscar, Lazira, and Andreas Eicher top 10.
I think they know that there's going to be a different type of strategy race to the end if this goes green, so I think they're taking this opportunity to try to take control of this race. And that's what they're doing their best at right now as we see Mark Murphy, who's had a steady climb through the field. He's now up to 13th, started all the way back in 28th position. He survived to be up in this position now.
Yeah, I haven't talked a lot about Mark Murphy in the 69 machine. It's been a slow, steady climb for him, but he's kept the car going in the right direction and worked through the field, and now here he is. Just outside the top 10, if he can get past another couple spots, we'll be able to get there. Highest he's been has been in 10th place this race. Trying to make a move on Musselman, backs out of it, not quite able to get there. Still running in the line.
Lechka kind of swerving down the straightaway a little bit. Not sure if he's trying to maybe signal to drivers behind what he's doing or what that is. But either way, yeah, kind of falling off to 74 of Blocker right now.
I'm starting to move him back there. I see, looks like Musselman actually yielded and gave a spot to Murphy. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not, if he's just slow off the corner, but here comes Marquez with a move to the inside, and in behind them, Jason Brophy, Joe Branch.
I think Kevin Musselman might have had a little bit of contact. I think Murphy forced it to the outside out of 2. Musselman had to lift, and he almost had contact with Marquez because of it, but they kept it straight, and Murphy's now up to that 12th position.
Here's the runoff for turn 2. Ooh, looks like it's got a little bit tight, maybe a little bit loose for Musselman. If there was contact, it was very slight. And off they will go out of turn 2 once again. The leader is nothing much to report here. Other than Tucker and Orman trying to keep control of this race. Lechka dropping back a little bit.
I'm wondering if this is strategy induced. He's well off the top 5 at this point, kind of holding Akabueze and Oster, among others, a little bit further back.
I wonder what is the strategy for him here. He's just trying to write it out. And speaking of strategy, looking at it, so these drivers are right on the cusp of going on 2 stops at the end. Because we know they can go about 30 laps, 31 laps under green. And they got the restart with, I believe, 108 laps to go. Sorry, on lap 108 with about 92 to go.
Yeah, so
it's going to be a bit close.
They're going to have to probably do a little bit of saving, but this is probably the hardest we'll see some drivers race at this point, as long as this goes green. You got to get about 30, 31 out of those tanks like you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely not out of the realm of possibility. Not too much to ask for them to fuel save, but like you said, you might have to do a little bit of saving at some point in this run. And it doesn't look like Orman or Tucker are planning on saving anytime soon. Lull in the action here, as I think at this point, again, everyone's just trying to make it to the next pit stop. And it's going to slowly turn more and more. We said at the start of the race, marathon, not a sprint, but that slowly changes in time. As the lap counter dwindles down, everyone's going to start pushing more and more. And I think we still haven't seen a lot from most of these cars, how much they really can push.
Depending on the situation, it will be a sprint at some point, but I would call this the calm before the storm right now, because you know things are going to go wild at a certain point.
Slow car there on the bottom. Not sure if that was a slow car. That was Robert Malechka.
Malechka. It was Malechka. Just, I don't know. Kind of biding his time. Not sure why he's done that weaving at least twice now, but kind of biding his time. Still staying well off Adam Blocker at this point.
Yeah, I guess he's managing that gap. He's still well within drafting range, despite the little bit of a gap between himself and Blocker.
It seems like Trano, Steele, those I5G guys in general, they're all 100% fine with Tucker and Orman, those two teammates, to control this race. Probably thinking that maybe they're using their fuel up more than they need to, possibly, but they don't seem like they really want to battle it at this point.
Not much to really battle with at this point. Is right on board with Christian Steele. Chasing down Brandon Trano as he has been all season long. And I think it's safe to say, with the amount of cars that are retired of this race, we're going to be handing the trophy to Brandon Trano come the end of this one. But of course, Steele, I think he's thought about it since Barber, probably since Long Beach. And it's almost frustrating as a driver. You got to imagine, what could have been. At Long Beach, looked like he might have been able to get a huge amount of points with that race, win that one mistake, and put him back behind Trano. And I think he lost the rest of the points that he really needed at that point.
Yeah, that was a real turning point. It could have been even bigger turning point if he could have held on to the lead, but one corner, that all out the window, and it basically turns into just kind of trying to cling on to something that's not even there at that point. Like you said, I think since Long Beach, since he kind of threw that one away a little bit, he's probably just been thinking about Indy and also Barber at that point, just trying to win those two races. Now all his focus is on the Indianapolis 500. He's had a fast car, no doubt about it, but he really hasn't had the track position since the very first run. He hasn't really been the guy at the front since that second set of pit stops where Malechka kind of took control along with Trano. So got a little work to do to get back in that fight, but he's still in a good spot in fourth, just hanging him, another one of those drivers who's just kind of lurking and waiting for his moment.
Waiting to see what comes here. Less than 80 laps remaining. 22 drivers remaining on the track, 19 of which on the lead lap. Alexander Ball is back out. Did we ever find out what happened to him? Or am I misremembering him having an issue in an earlier incident?
Might have been maybe with the issue with the 19 he had an issue. I could not fully tell you. But either way, he's laps down.
He's currently the first car a lap down, but is 3 laps down at the moment. Rick Forsythe also out there running on the track. We saw his issues earlier on. Had an issue coming into the pit lane, hit the pit wall. Got that car repaired. He's out there 8 laps down. And then Andrew Wood, we saw him have an incident where he got loose out of the corner, hit the turn 4 wall, and was able to get the car back out on the track. He's the last runner in 22nd, 12 laps down.
I looked back. Alexander Ball hit the wall lap 109, actually after this previous restart. So that's what put him 3 laps down. Now he's kind of limping out there. So that's why he's laps down. He's the first driver any sort of laps down. Seb Alexander tail end of the lead lap. He had more speed earlier, but it seems like he doesn't have it right now. He's back in that 19th position. He's the one behind Andrew Wood, who we were just showing.
You'll work our way back onto the front straightaway. Another lap past the yard of bricks.
Another swap. Orman in front. Him and Tucker. Just biding their time, waiting until about 15, 16 laps from now. Really trying to get the 140 if you're any of these drivers at the front.
Yeah, it's going to be the next lap they're going to want to reach. 140 and then 170. Those are going to be the targets. If you get just about around, it doesn't have to be exact, if you get around those laps, you should be good to go to the end. It's a matter of making the targets or getting as close as you can to them. Yeah, I think that is due to a lot of what we're seeing right now, that kind of calm before the storm. Everyone kind of both planning out their next response.
You probably still have about 12 cars that are capable of winning this if it falls the correct way.
I see one driver that's really good at getting the pit strategy right. It's Blocker. He's been able to save the most out of anyone. And I really feel we haven't seen the true pace of the 74 because he's been able to save fuel and then also gain spots somehow. So definitely I think one driver we have to watch. That's not too surprising. Anyone familiar with Adam Blocker races in several different IndyCar series and is a very quick driver, to say it, to put it lightly, in open wheel machinery. So definitely a man to beat, especially here in Indianapolis.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the 2 former Indy 500 winners in the field, him and Malechka, who are nose to nose right now. I believe former winners of the Indy Elite version of this race, trying to become the Sim Racer Hub could be wrong, but I believe both of them trying to become the first multi-time winner of this Indy Elite event, as long as Sim Racer Hub is correct. But either way, these 2 drivers definitely contention. I believe Blocker's shown the strategy, but maybe not the winning speed fully yet. Malechka has certainly showed the speed to win this race, but we're still having an ever-changing track even at this point in the race. Track temp was at 123 degrees Fahrenheit a second ago. It's back down to 122, but this track is still changing big time.
Oh, yeah, 50 on the dot Celsius. Track is still getting hot here. It's just about almost 2 o'clock in Sim. It's getting slicker out there, but I mean, you wouldn't really tell it's that terribly slick. I mean, the cars separate out a little bit, but I think that's more so with them running the pace down a little bit. I've been very impressed with the racing today. Solid job from everyone involved, and has been fairly racy at some points. You saw guys going at it side by side.
And one thing I'm noticing about this run compared to the others, the lead pack, when we start after a restart, usually more packed up than this. We're starting to see it much more spread out. Those top 2 still swapping back and forth, but Trano, Steele, Blocker, Malechka, and Akabueza are pretty far apart. This is not something we've really seen all day, even in this first run of a restart.
Still working their way on through onto the back straightaway now. 21 laps for pretty much all the leaders. Actually, almost every single car on the track has got 21 laps on their tires, except for Alexander Ball has got 14 when he came in a little bit, I think, after the restart. After he hit the wall, got some damage. So everyone else, 21 laps on their tires, so expecting them to come down in about 10 laps time. That's just about at that 140 mark, a little bit close. It might be right on the money, but it's right in that cusp again where you really have to consider, do you want to save or a little bit or push a little bit? And you may want to, if anything, you may want to start saving now because you don't want to be saving that last stint.
No, you need to be full send mode in the final stint so you can compete for the win. You do not want to have to be conservative in the final, what would it be, the final 25 miles of the Indy 500. You do not want that to happen and be in that situation. So if you need to save to make that strategy work, you need to start saving now. And we were talking about lap 140. We restarted with 92 to go. So realistically, these drivers want to at least get the 139, which would be the 61 to go mark. They got to at least get to that point.
Taking a look here, Jason Brophy further down the order. We saw him almost ended his race early on. Remember his very entertaining run down onto pit lane. I think a little bit too entertaining for him. He's back in 13th at the moment. Was running up there inside the top 5. He's drifted on back along the racetrack, Craig, just outside of it. Not the end of the world. And again, I think just one of the many drivers at this point is biding their time. Looks like he's trying to get around Mark Murphy at the moment, but not forcing the issue.
Yeah, not trying to force the issue right now. He can't be too aggressive in these Indy cars trying to make a pass work. It'll just end in a really bad wreck, as we've already seen at least 2 of them today. But Murphy's done a good job biding his time, just able to survive and get through the field at the end part of this race to have a shot at a potential top 10, and who knows what can happen. He's got to be, I would think, right now, one of the biggest movers, if not the biggest mover of the race. He started 28th. He's now up 16 positions in that 12th position. Andrew Marquez, he's up 10 positions. Joe Branch is up 6. Flynn Lazier's in the top 10. He's up 12 positions. Malechka's obviously up 10 positions currently as well.
Yeah, we saw earlier, Blazer Andrews was holding that title for quite a while, one of the biggest movers, but now it's transitioned to Mark Murphy. Flynn Lazier, I think you mentioned also a bunch of positions gained for him. Up into 9th place, he's been slowly getting positions. Hasn't really lost any positions, been a lot of forward progress for him. Hit a little bit of a wall this run, but again, one of those cars you may have to keep an eye on later on. Hamilton Akabueze, he's gone up and down a little bit. He's back in at 7th after dropping 3 spots. Sorry, dropped 4 spots from where he started in 3rd.
Not sure if he's even led a lap today. If he has, it's probably single digits.
I can tell you, he's at 14.
Oh, so he's led more than I thought, but he really hasn't been one of those guys who have been mainly dominant forces. A lot of those laps, I'm sure, were led when he was swapping with Trano and Steele, but he really hasn't been in control of the race, but really no one has been, so that's probably not a knock on him. At the same time, I feel like ever since we've gotten a bit more spread out and started maybe to get a little more racy, he's kind of slipped back a little bit. 7th place might be the furthest back he's been under a green flag condition.
Taking a look at how many laps some of the drivers have led, you saw Joshua Tucker's gone into the double digits as far as laps led. Brandon Trano 31, Christian Steele 21, Adam Blocker 15, Malechka 25, Hamilton Akabueze 14, Oster 0. And I think that's where the leaders end. Nothing really seen any of the other drivers up near the front. Racetrack Craig, no, I don't think we have seen him in the lead. So not a whole lot of pure dominance of quite a few cars near the front, mainly Trano, Steele, Blocker, Malechka, Akabueze. We saw them all near the front now. Tucker and Orman have joined that club, being up near the front of the field.
I don't know if we missed anything. Maybe Seb Alexander hit the wall or something, but he actually came out of the race. He's reconnected to the server, but I think he pancaked the turn 4 wall and pulled it off track about 3 or 4 laps ago, so he might be just another retirement from this race if he doesn't get back on track.
Let's see if we can see what happened to him. There we go. Might have gone a little bit too far back. We'll see here.
At least 1 lap after for sure.
Fast forward a little bit.
Turn 4 has been the main trouble spot, really.
Oh yeah, got really tight there. Hit the wall. That's not one of the worst hits I've seen.
But it will definitely bend everything on that side to the point where if you hit it that hard, you almost know you're probably going to have to come down for probably required repairs. You could see the suspension kind of push in a little bit there.
Much worse of an impact on the onboard as it usually ends up being.
That's kind of, we've been seeing turn 2, people have been flirting with it, but it's really been turn 4 where everyone's been flirting with it. We've seen a lot of drivers pancake that turn 4 wall. He's just the latest.
Then Lazier, Hamilton, Akabueze doing a little bit of a battle further down the order. Lazier in 9th, Akabueze in 8th. Looks like Lazier is tired of sitting in 9th place, wants to add 1 more spot. Whoa. Having a little bit of internet issue as well. That's definitely something you don't want.
Don't want it near the end of the race after this long, especially.
Anyway, back off a little bit, let the internet reset. That's going to be a frustrating thing. You have a run on the guy trying to make a move, and then you're going to debate, do I try to make a move or my internet hold?
Akabueze's had a rough, the last 2 laps have been rough. He's been in the 41.6s, which is pretty slow pace compared to what we've been seeing ahead of him. He was about 2-3 tenths slower than the drivers ahead, so he started to lose touch with Oster as Lazier almost followed Akabueze in the wall.
Yeah, I heard him get off the throttle late, which is usually not a good sign.
No word. Joshua Tucker in this lap, so this is 137. That is not the number you need to get to. It's about 2-3 laps
I can
short.
tell you exactly why he's coming in. He's led 27 laps, and I'm pretty sure all of those laps have been pretty much from, if not maybe 5 or so laps, have been from this stint. So he's been out there for majority of the laps, so I'm not surprised to see him come in the earliest.
Which is certainly why guys like Trano and Steele Blocker, they were not battling those two because they figured that they were not going to make their number. Tucker will be in this lap. Orman will not follow him in, crucially, even though they were both swapping back and forth. It looks like Orman's going to get at least an extra lap out of this.
Yeah, I was going to say he definitely should at least because he stayed in behind. He was still running strong and swapping for quite a bit, but then went into a little bit more of a saving mode halfway through the run.
Craig Forsyth is in. He's laps down. Andrew Wood also came down.
Yeah, so main taker there was Joshua Tucker. We'll see this time by. The trickle of cars down on the pit lane, see how well drivers were saving up on this run. Orman, we expect to see potentially this lap, if not definitely the next one. After being up near the front, and we'll continue on one more circuit.
So it's really not a good situation for his teammate then to be 2 laps shorter than the other, but this will work out either way in Orman's favor, and maybe he'll keep control of the race. It's really what we expected with those guys laying back. We expect to see Trano, Steele, Blocker, Malechka, and others get maybe leapfrog these 2 teammates who were leading this race just from saving that extra bit of fuel. Avery Lavern's in from 17th, Christensen's in with him. Those were the 2 tail-end drivers on the lead lap.
Sneaking down the back straightaway. I haven't really seen a whole lot of that. Everyone's been playing fairly calm and respectful the first 150 or so. We're going to slowly start to change as we get lower down the order. Here comes Jesper Orman on down. Anyone else taking it? No, they are not. And I think what we're seeing is a lot of the results of really good fuel saving from the rest of the field and why they were so quiet. Trying to hit their numbers.
Orman's number should be good, but these other drivers are probably going to be in a better spot.
Yeah, I think that's because they don't want to be in any sort of fuel-saving situation for that final stint. Save what you can now. In this stint, you have one more stint to save, and then find that final stint. That's going to be the key one. You want to be able to push all out to the end.
Akabueze hit the wall down the straightaway. That's why he kind of swerved out. I don't think it did damage, but maybe just a loss of focus as everyone else at the front going to seem to stay out. No, but Lazier from 7th comes down.
I think Rayshot, Craig, Murphy, quite a few drivers in the back of the field.
This is almost everyone 7th on back.
Off they will go.
Chunk. Well, Orman has come out with his teammate Tucker, so I would have to believe Tucker's going to be maybe not swapping as much this next run because he's got to go a little longer.
Needs to make sure he saves some fuel. So these drivers come on down. Leaders in turn 3. These guys actually did a lot more saving than I thought they were going to do.
Yeah, this is already 2-3 laps past that number we were thinking. Looked like Blocker had a bit of a wiggle off the corner. That was very sketchy.
They're going to get to adapt to the way the car drives. Lighter fuel in the back, so the weight's going to shift differently in the rear of the car. Got to make those adjustments. It's very, especially with the older tires as well.
Yeah, these tires. The track is at the hottest it's been. It's at 124. You're probably in dirty air unless you're the race leader. So this is probably the most sketchy the track is going to be at this point of the run. So we might see Trano down this time.
And the leaders working through slower traffic that have stayed out. Or sorry, they've stayed out. Traffic that has just come out of the pits, as you mentioned. Trano coming on down. Christian Steele, Hamilton Akabueze in. It'll be Blocker, Malechka, Oster staying out.
They both got by Blocker gets by Mark Murphy, puts a buffer between him and Malechka. Malechka has a decent gap to Musselman, who also pit. I think they got past him. Malechka's called down this time by. Looks like Oster will be in as well. We'll see if Blocker wants to go an extra lap.
I think if there's anyone that can go an extra lap, it's him, although I don't think he really needs to. I think he can definitely come down if he wanted to. And it looks like he will. He'll come on down. Robert Malechka coming on down, and so will Oscar.
Whoa, that's deep from Malechka.
Oh, that's a tap to the wall, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
He tapped it. I don't know if it did much damage, but I'm really more concerned about potential speeding. He hit the line at about 66, 65. That's the deepest I think I've seen anyone enter.
Well, we'll see how if he's going to sit in the box. He's in 5, 6, 7 seconds here revving. And he got away with it.
Ooh, that's a little bit fortunate. Not a little, it's a lot fortunate. Matter of fact, he got the lead out of it. He jumped out and blocker doing that.
And a slight kiss to the wall in the left front. Looks like it's not going to bother him at all, so he'll be back out there.
That is extremely fortunate as Tucker and Orman, they retake control of the race in front of Brandon Trano, but not by much. And these guys are going to be pretty far back.
There's Brandon Trano working, there's Orman, and then Tucker will take back the race lead. But I'm surprised he's getting back out here. If I was him, I would not want to be in the lead this next run.
No, I don't think that's going to be good at all. If he leads another run here, there's no chance he's going to make that fuel number work unless he really back up the rest of the field, but clearly not doing that. Pulled away from his teammate that previous lap.
I guess his strategy is to go all out, hope and pray for a caution, which not the worst strategy, although it has been fairly clean this race compared to some of the other races we've had in the past.
That wouldn't be. If I were him, I wouldn't be back on a caution.
Yeah, we only had 3 cautions this race, and we've had, what, I think 8 or 9 last race? Something like that?
About 9 of the previous race. Yes. We had 37 lead changes to go along with that. The previous race. The most cautions in one of these races is 12. The least is actually 2 seasons ago when we had 2 yellows. We're kind of smack dab in the middle.
So knocking on wood seems to be one of the cleaner races. But if I was him, I wouldn't really want to be banking on a caution.
We'll see how this works out for him as he's gotten back behind Orman, but it seems like maybe they'll swap again. Nope, this time he will stay in line, and that will allow Trano to close up just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think really their best bet of anything is let Trano go in front and kind of ride in behind him, do a little bit of fuel saving. He can catch back up because he's at the deficit. Now that Orman's in front, he can save a little bit more, but I would just kind of lay back this run because now he's at a deficit. Everyone else, they can go a lot further, they can push a lot harder.
Interested in what Trano will do because he went 3 laps longer than Orman, which was 5 laps longer than Tucker. So if he wanted to, he could probably lead this race, but I don't think he's ready to do that quite yet.
I mean, why would you? I mean, I was him. I was just sitting behind, let the guys in front who are a little bit more questionable in the fuel, let them run their tanks out.
Bide your time. That's what I would think you'd want to do at this point, as we're now in a 4-car line with the leaders. Malechka and Blocker should make it 6 in a short amount of time.
They're catching up pretty quickly. Then there's a big separation back to some of the Team I5G cars. Jacob Oster, Hamilton Aquays, then Flynn Lazier in 9th, and Brophy rounding out your top 10.
Brophy's just all on his own. It seemed like he had much more pace earlier, but back in 10th, not really. He has a little slipstream, about a second to him to Lazier, but doesn't seem to have the same amount of pace as he had earlier earlier during this day.
Jacob Oster is catching pretty quickly as well, so he's catching back up. Leaders ran a 41.4. Oster 40.972 last lap through.
And the previous lap through, Adam Blocker ran a 40.6, so you can tell how much slower the pace is because of what the front runners are doing currently. This lap by Orman of 0.321, 41.321. Akaboise was about 4/10 faster than that, as was Adam Blocker.
See Tucker gaining on the back straightaway and then letting off for the corner. And again, he's got a lot of work to do, just saving some fuel. So everyone else came in significantly after really both of them. A lot of the guys directly in behind them. And beat them by, in some cases, 5 laps, 3 laps.
And this next pit cycle might get interesting because really the lowest window we've seen is I think when Trano went only 29 earlier. So really that means, it should mean if you pit 171, you should be pretty good to the end. So even if you can make it to maybe 174, 175, you might see drivers try to cut it off at 171, 172 lap count, just maybe to get the undercut and maybe get clean air. After those pit cycles are done, then we're going to start seeing drivers open it up and start the race.
Yeah, then the race is effectively on. No more pacing around, no more waiting for things to happen. The race is on to the end. We don't have any overtime, no green-white checkered, so it's going to be the scheduled 500 miles to the end. You don't have to worry about saving any extra after the scheduled distance. You'll be ending this thing under green or yellow at lap 200.
You almost said only green. Not there is a possibility. It sends under yellow.
Can't do a red flag at the last second also.
No, we don't. You could manually do it, but that would be a nightmare.
That would be
I couldn't believe they did that last year.
They tried to do it. I think they're looking at NASCAR's doing like, seems
It's
to
like
work
maybe
for them.
there was some entertainment. It's like, well,
I'm sure it was Marcus Ericsson that got passed, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, he was.
I'm sure he was not
upset.
a fan. Yeah. I don't blame him.
No, I don't blame him either. Flip side of things, I'm sure people were upset when they ended under yellow when Takuma Sato won.
Yeah.
That was 4 years ago at this point. You know, you're always going to have angry sides. As a NASCAR follower, you get that. You always have, seems like 10 sides to a story when it comes to any controversy in that series.
Nolan moves for the lead. Yes, for Orman leading this. And again, for Orman, he's also not really out of the clear. He only came 1 lap in after his teammate, right? 1 or 2. 2 laps after his teammate. So he's not in the...
Here comes Trino.
Oh, that's to say that. He almost like you heard me on the broadcast. He's going to make a move to the inside. Decided now it's time to go. He'll get past Tucker.
Split up the teammates. I think he kind of took Joshua Tucker by surprise there. And it's going to put a gap between him and Christian Steele as well. That's interesting to note as well. So we might see Trino maybe go for the lead. Maybe he's thinking, we'll see whether or not he just either wanted to split the teammates up, or maybe he's thinking now it's time to go.
That's what I'm wondering too. Maybe he wants to try to build a gap. Maybe just some of the guys in behind, because Oster and Akaboids are starting to catch back up. Maybe, Tucker in the wall.
That was turn 4 again. That was a pretty big hit. Here comes Steele. He's going to take advantage of that as Trino gets the race lead back.
Up to lead he will go. Orman back to second, Steele in third, but Tucker with some damage. As he almost clipped it again in 2. That car is not handling as well as it was about 10, 20 laps ago.
I can guarantee you he's trying everything on the weight jacket to try to keep the car in the fight, as here comes Orman, not trying to give control of the race up quite yet. He goes back by Trino. The race might be on now as Steele is by. Tucker's really going to hold up Malechka a little bit here. That's 44 is really going to be struggling. Last quarter of the race on now.
And behind you can see the race between Malechka and Tucker. Drag race down the front straightaway for them. Between Trino and Orman, they're also going to trade blows. Trino going to win out in that fight. Malechka going to get on through Joshua Tucker. Blocker now the next one up to fight.
Yeah, I think it's time to go. I think that move by Trino and now Orman fighting back, this is the battle for the win, and they're going to go for it at this point. As you can see, they're going to start swapping back and forth. Neither driver wants to stay in behind, as Christian Steele's starting to come up on this battle as well. We should not be too far away from Malechka and Blocker joining the fight as more drivers go by the ailing Joshua Tucker. Yeah, and it looks like he's pitting this time.
I'm not surprised he's pitting this time. That damage is really hurting him, and that's unfortunate because he's going to have to make one more stop after this. So, unfortunately, to see Tucker's day go this way, but unfortunately, strategy didn't work out, and the damage really kind of sealed his fate.
Yeah, nothing you could do about that. He could have tried sticking it out, but he's probably going full throttle trying to keep that pace, and he's almost hitting the wall every lap with that suspension damage. He had no choice but to bring it down and probably make repairs, so it is an unfortunate end. It was looking promising, but he's still got a teammate in the fight he can root for regardless as he continues his race. Orman back to the front, and Christian Steele is just going to watch these two race.
Yeah, effectively, there's nothing much for him to really do at this point. Just kind of see and watch these two trade blows with each other. No point in sticking his nose in there because he's right in behind them. About 15 or so laps from that final pit stop occurring. The money stop for these drivers, that's really going to be it. If you make a mistake down there, you're pretty much going to throw your chances away of a win.
Yeah, we thought Malechka did that, but in matter of fact, he actually jumped someone doing that. So it's a fine line between getting out, making a position up, or making a mistake that takes you out of contention for the 500. I'm sure every single driver is going to be pushing as hard as they can, the hardest they have all race. Might not see Malechka go as deep, though.
Orman putting up a really solid fight here, but again, it's a bit in question whether or not he can make it to the end. I think he's just on that cusp. I would say he's probably better off just sticking him behind Trano and riding out a little bit, but he's continuing to fight in, like you mentioned. I think he knows that he needs to try to be in front of him, or really as close as he can to be in front of him to get this win.
I think he knew if he was trying to stay behind Trano that Trano would likely open up a gap, because he knows the 9's fuel situation is much better. And Orman, he made his number. He pit 139, but he spent a lot of this race, this stint in the race lead, and then eventually his teammate hits the wall. Trano gets into a fight. So, yeah, you have no choice but to try to fight for lead of the race at this point. And it is going to be interesting to see how his fuel window changes. He's probably got to make it to 170 this run, but that's going to be a big question mark in fighting for the lead like this.
So it starts to get interesting here, entering the last 100 miles here as we complete lap 160 next time by. You can see the racing starting to kick up a little bit more after being a lot of drivers being a lot more conservative in the last 60 laps.
We have a cloud over the track as well. We were saying that track temp was 124. It's down to 113, so starting to cool down. 5 degrees Celsius lower than when we last looked at it. Look at the wind too, 15 kilometers per hour. That's much higher than it was earlier as well.
Yeah, wind's kicking up. Track's getting cooler. That's a big thing too. It actually just dropped again as we were just looking at it. 44.4. So it's starting to, and that's going to mean that these drivers have a little bit more grip they can work with, and it's the perfect time to have some more grip.
Probably have to adjust that weight jacker. If you have it pretty high already, you're probably going to get more sideways a little bit just because of the extra grip that you're going to have. So these drivers are going to be on that dial trying to make as many changes as quickly as possible, trying to keep up with the track.
Keeping up with the track, keeping up with their setup, and as well as how much they're willing to push it, and as well as where they're running in line. All the factors they got to consider here. Coming across the line, 100 miles left to go, 400 down. Still one more set of pit stops left to go as well in the next 10 laps. We're going to see drivers coming on down to pit lane for what should be the final time. And they're all slowly closing in on each other as well. It's all getting a little bit tighter. Mushka, Blocker, Oster, Akaboise all catching back up from the zero, as well as Jason Brophy all within this fight. Then it's a solid 3 seconds back to Rashad Craig, Andreas Ike, Mark Murphy. They're effectively out of it for now as they run.
Yeah, battling right now. Ike had more pace than this earlier, but it seems like it's just not the case. He's fallen well off those top 9 with Brophy at the back of it. So they're just battling for their own positions. They're another 9 seconds ahead of Andrew Marquez. He's actually battling with Adrian Musselman and Alexander Ball, who's not on their lap right now. So got different strategies around the field, but still 9 drivers in a good spot to compete for this win.
Gotta say, I'm fairly impressed with Orman. I thought he might be a little bit more on the back foot, but is willing to show and really proving here that he's got some speed in this 53 machine. Has not been in much of the conversation for most of this race. Started in 9th. Was running pretty much on the lower end of the top 10, out of harm's way, out of the discussion, which is typically a good thing, especially in the early parts of a race. Now getting after some strategy, got his name up here, and is ready to fight it out with everyone up here in the front who's been duking it out since lap 1.
And he's still probably got to make it another 7 laps, or really 7 or 8 laps on this tank to be comfortable, just like everyone else in this line. So he's probably trying to save while doing this, but he knows he cannot let Trano get control of this race as we keep talking about it.
Casually exchanging positions back and forth. Everyone's being fairly courteous with this. They have been courteous with this the last 160 laps, but mark my words, after that final pit stop, it's going to be significantly less give and a lot more take.
Definitely going to get more aggressive in this final run, and we are just, it's still kind of a calm before the storm, because we just don't know how crazy this might get, as looks like Flynn Lazier looking around the outside of Akaboise, not quite able to get that position, but they're starting to maybe mix it up and battle a little bit. Everyone's trying to get in the best position possible before this final round of stops.
They're trying to gain what they can, if there's anything to be gained. He's trying to move up a spot, still looking for that outside lane a little bit of Akaboise, and I think he's just almost able to get there. Ooh, taps the wall a little bit, as he tries to get some purchase. Whoa, and both of them getting very close to the wall. A big run, though, for Lazier down the front straightaway.
But he doesn't have the slipstream. Oster's giving it to his teammates, so this might not work out for Lazier, and he'll obviously give the dirty air to the 8. So They are both probably working together a little bit to keep Lazier back, and it's working so far.
Yeah, obviously don't want to interfere where you can. But want to interfere where you can, help your teammate out. And unfortunately, going to be Lazier back in 8th, although the car's still running good and strong. And the entire top 9 all within 2 seconds of each other.
Really is a calm before the storm. I feel something brewing. I just don't know what.
Something is brewing. I mean, again, we got that pit stop left, so there's not, these drivers, it has, kind of caught up a little bit. Everyone's getting close together. Everyone's really shaping up for that pit stop because that's really going to be, what sets off everything else after.
And I'm sure every driver in this top 9 are just really thinking hard, not even about what's happening on track. They're thinking about how much can they get out of their pit entry and how aggressively can they get into their box. They're thinking about everything possible to try to get the biggest advantage possible in and out of pit lane. That's all these drivers are thinking about currently. I guarantee it.
Exchange further down the order, Ike and Craig exchanging spots. Not sure they've been going back and forth or not, but they've not been catching the leaders. Bleeding, stop the bleeding a little bit. They're running just about on pace with them, but still 4 seconds behind. But like you mentioned, for these drivers, it's just a matter of they're going to try to maximize the pit entry, maximize pit exit, because after the pit stop, that's the final real reset you're going to see with the field. After that, it's everything that's going to happen on track afterwards that's going to affect the outcome.
Yeah, and it's going to be pretty intense once it all ramps up, as you see Oster kind of falling off Adam Blocker a little bit this time. Akaboyze, Lazier, and Brophy also falling back just because of that as well. And we are closing in maybe in the next 5 laps. I would say definitely in the next 5 laps, we should see some drivers in.
Yeah, you can argue around in the next lap or 2, the window will be open. I bet we're going to see possibly Orman be one of the first drivers on down, possibly Treno. But Treno can go a little bit more because he's one of those drivers that saved a lot of fuel in the previous stint.
We're starting to see those top 2 be able to build a gap a little bit over Christian Steele. Steele maybe just trying to get cleaner air on his nose, but he's definitely fallen back in the previous few laps.
Hakaboyze are getting close quarters with Lazier. Almost like he's going to drift into the wall there, trying to keep that E-car in behind.
He's trying to close up every part of clean air he can to keep him behind at this point. So this is about the 30 lap point this time by for Jesper Orman.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard any word out of him if he's going to come down to pit lane or not. Still pushing hard. He's on lap 29. I think he can comfortably go one more. He should be good, in theory.
Looks like, let's see here. I think he did just call it. Yeah, he had come down. So this is hopefully, he's hoping his final stop. Also, that is Flynn Lazier in from 8th, so he couldn't go long as well. And this is coming to 31 to go, and that is going to be a pretty long stretch.
Yeah, Lazier actually could. He should have been able to go a little bit more with 28 laps, so I guess he feels like he's got enough fuel to make it to the end.
I would think that he's probably confident. He came down lap 140, actually. Yeah. So I'd be shocked if he could only have gone 29 laps. Could be a strategy point. We're talking about maybe we might see drivers undercutting, looking for the track position instead of trying to have as much fuel to the end possible. Could be a situation where they're trying to
Let's see any more takers this time by? No. Don
Akaboyze had a big slide out of 4, though.
Don Christensen, haven't talked a lot about him. Saw him, I think, have a bit of an issue on pit lane. He's back going. He's running in 16th. But taking a look at where Orman is. There's Orman on the back straightaway. Flynn Lazier coming out onto the track. And here come the leaders racing down towards them.
Andreas Ike came down. He was the first driver not in that pack as Steele closes up on Treno a little bit more. So we're still seeing our top 7 drivers yet the pit. And it looks like
Treno
here
and
comes
Steele.
Yep, so this is definitely coordinated. Look out! They almost came together. That's going to be close for Steele as well. But he gained a lot on entry. Here comes Mark Murphy as well.
See how heated that entry was.
This is definitely a strategy point to to where they're going to pit together and swap together. Maybe try to settle it between themselves.
Talk about maximizing pit entry. Hello.
I'll say.
Up on the jacks for both of them. And down they will go. Exit as they came in.
And that number 1 stall, going to keep Treno in front of Christian Steele. Here come the leaders again. Malechka, Blocker, Oster, Akabueze, Brophy, all stay out. And another one pits, that's Rashad Craig, who comes in from 6th.
Blocker a move on Malechka. And we'll get past the 91. We'll take the lead of the race. We'll still wait for the entire top 7 to have yet to come down for their final pit stop. Sorry, actually, Rashad Craig has come on down, so and so has AJ Musselman. So the top 5 still yet to pit. Malechka charges on past Blocker.
And crucially enough, Orman could not get out in front of Treno or Christian Steele, so he's going to be behind those 2 teammates. Not much he's going to be able to do, I wouldn't think. Here comes Brophy from 5th.
Brophy will come on in. It'll be Malechka, Blocker, Oster, and
Blocker
staying out as Blocker will exchange once again. And you mentioned there, Orman not able to get ahead of Christian Steele and Brandon Treno. Treno, the benchmark for who we expect to be the leader coming next time when all the leaders pit.
And if I had to guess, this is Adam Blocker knowing he's going to pit soon, just trying to get any track position he can before those pit stops. Malechka's going to try to take it back. That's a late move in the turn 3, and he is going to get it back. So both these drivers, I can assure you, trying to get in front of one or the other before they have to come down. We'll see if this is when they want to come down. Doesn't look like it, so Blocker should have another charge into 1.
They're going to push the mileage here. I'm wondering if it's going to work, though, overcut versus the undercut. You can argue.
It's 41 flats for them that time by Treno and Steele ran a 40.6 and a 40.8. So those 2 who already pit faster, as well as Orman is also faster than those guys who haven't pit yet.
Malechka again with the big run to the inside in turn 3. Oster waiting in behind.
I don't know if he's waiting or he just can't keep up, really.
I think a little bit of both potentially here.
Another lap. This is much further than I thought they'd be able to go, honestly. They come down next time, it'll be 24 laps to go. They'll probably be at a track position disadvantage, but they will not have to save, certainly, at all.
No, I'm just kind of wondering when that crossover point is. I feel like we passed it. I feel like I prefer where Christian Steele came down. I think Akabueze just hit the wall a little bit as Rashad Craig's making a move.
He's
trying to get past
flirting
him
with it. Couldn't quite see if he did or not. It was very close in turn 1. He had a big lift, but I don't think he actually did make contact.
Yeah,
not quite yet.
Craig getting past him on the track. He's a lap down after making his pit stops. And these guys will go another lap, but Oster will come on in.
And Akabueze. Oster's deep. I think he's in fine.
Akabueze is really hot. I will be genuinely surprised if he doesn't get a penalty.
He did not lock them up. I don't think he wanted to, but I feel like that's the fastest I've seen anyone enter.
Yeah, we'll see. Keep an eye on it. Can't afford a mistake at this point.
No, it'd be the literal worst time possible. Get in the stall. I don't think that's really legal. Pit. I don't know how the pit boxes work, but either way, he's in. Oster is out. Akabueze is out.
Okay, he got away with it. And here come the leaders.
Now this is huge. Blockers in deep.
Oh man!
They are really. They're not playing it safe.
Yeah, we were really. It was funny how we were talking about maximizing pit entry. At some point, these guys.
At some point, you're maximizing too much, I would think.
Oh boy, I want to see this. I have to see that. We have to ride on board with this. See if he got away with it. I almost want to think that he didn't, but somehow he did.
Who's going to get out first? It looks like Blocker's going to get out in front of Malechka here, and we'll see where they come out.
Treno and Steele racing each other side by side down the front straightaway, and I believe they should easily be able to get past Blocker and Malechka. They're on the inside on the slip lane. Here they come. They're the leaders on the inside versus the leaders duking out on the track on the racetrack itself. Steele going to come flying out of turn 2. Will take the lead. Blocker immediately coming onto the track as well as Malechka.
Cuts up in front of Orman, but Orman's going to have the run to get him, but this is going to be good for Blocker to get out
making a move back there.
And that's not going to work out well for Malechka losing an extra position compared to Adam Blocker, and Blocker's already back to the inside of Jesper Orman for that position. Actually,
all right.
No, Orman's actually getting to the outside.
Here we go. This race officially now a sprint to the end. Just about 20 laps to go here for the Indianapolis 500. Almost every car on screen that you see, the entire top 9, they all have a chance here.
And this is going to be pretty tight to the end. I'm sure Trano and Steele are going to try and be swapping back and forth, trying to keep it between themselves. But Adam Blocker, we'll see if that grip advantage comes into play. It's better by about 8 or 9 laps. So you'd think that's got to play some sort of advantage.
Move from Robert Malechka to the inside of Orman. He'll make a move in turn 3 and will get past Orman. Up to 4th for him. Blocker, Steele, and Trano remain ahead of him.
Malechka gained on Adam Blocker. You wonder if he's going to battle Blocker at all here. Or maybe he's going to try to keep it single file. It looks like he's going to let Blocker do some of the work here, potentially on Christian Steele, as now all the top 4 packed up behind Trano.
Touching of wheels between Oster and Orman in turn 1. Wheel-to-wheel contact, and they're still not letting up again. And it looks like Oster will yield. Orman will keep in 5th.
Pretty heavy contact, too. Don't know how they got away with that, but not getting this position might take Oster and Orman out of contention as side-by-side for second. Here comes Adam Blocker trying to get in between these two teammates' fight. Can't do it. Malechka, now he's going to work trying that outside line. Something we really haven't seen the leaders do too much. Steele did not get a good run out of turn number 4, but Trano's slipstream should keep him. Here goes 3 wide for second.
He thought of it. He thought of it for a second. It was so tempting, but he backed out of it. He knew that move would not work and effectively take all 3 of them out of the race.
And at this point, this is already the biggest lead we've seen a race leader get. Trano checking out. Christian Steele not able to keep pace. Adam Blocker has the run, but can he get enough of a run to make this pass?
Let's see if he can make the move. Look to the inside for him.
I thought Steele hit the wall on entry. It kind of ruined his turn number 3, but I think he might be able to keep the spot. No, Blocker has the run. He's got second. Here comes Malechka.
Malechka not yielding as well. He made a move, almost made it 3-1 into turn 1 last lap. Don't think he's going to do the same, but will try to make a move on Christian Steele. Battle for 3rd. The inside he will go, and it looks like Steele will have to yield.
He got arrow wash. Blocker ran that middle line. Steele was also hoping that he didn't have to.
Lap cars as well. Andrew Wood duking it out. I want to say that is
Gary Lovern.
Gary Lovern in 16th place. Well, leaders trying to work around them. Adam Blocker working his way on through. Malechka working down to the inside. Looks like they're letting the leaders on through when they can. Trying to stay out of it.
Lovern's going to let Blocker down the inside. We'll see if he just gets out of the way. Malechka kind of had to swerve a little bit to get out of the way, but now those drivers on fresh tires have already gotten to the 9 of Trano.
Oster getting held up a little bit here. Going to the inside of Andrew Wood. There's Christian Steele, you mentioned. Hamilton Akwazi now working to the inside of the lap car of Andrew Wood.
Here comes Blocker for the race lead.
Big charge from Blocker working on Brandon Trano. Side by side for both of them. And Blocker will win out on this occasion.
We'll see. I think the worst thing for Trano, if he falls back to 3rd, it's going to be tough to get back by Adam Blocker.
You see Blocker running high. Trano almost gets into the wall. An arrow block from Adam Blocker trying to maintain the lead.
And he's going to give Malechka the wash, the draft, so he's going to get the second. And now he goes diving for the inside race lead.
I don't know if I would have given Malechka that big of a run down the front straightaway. Malechka absolutely took it and ran with it.
And he's all the way back to 4th. Where did Jacob Oster come from? He gets down to the top 3 position out of nowhere.
I was going to say, he was stuck behind Andrew Wood. Somehow snuck into this battle past the lap cars, and here he is ready to play. Remember how much we saw him struggling down in the midfield. Finally back up inside the top 3 and ready to duke it out.
Another one of those drivers who were the latest to pit. He pit a lap before Adam Blocker and Robert Malechka. So now that overcut seems to be paying big dividends, where it seems like Trano and Steele have lost control of this race.
There we go. Malechka moving to the inside. Make the move on Blocker. Malechka, Blocker, Oster, Trano, Akaboise are top 5 here. Next time by completing 15 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll see if Trano has anything left to even battle with those guys. It doesn't seem like he can keep pace with even the 16 of Oster. But if they stack up like that, they might still be in it. That Oster really had to jump out of it and avoid Malechka there.
Almost made contact here, riding on board with Brendan Trano coming out of turn 4 on the front straightaway. The slipstream, the overspeed that these drivers trying to get on one another. I see a move there. It's Maleshka to the inside, and here comes Oster, going to snake his way on through. Going to get tight, very tight to the inside of Blocker.
That was a late move. When you dive and commit to the inside like that late, right before the entrance, it's almost rarely going to stick. So not sure if he can really make that move work, but he might try it here. Here goes Blocker. He's going to protect. Oster's going to go through the middle. 3
wide in turn 3. Maleshka backs out. Oster's going to lose out. Blocker will win out in that exchange. Still not done yet. Here comes Maleshka down on the inside.
He's going to clear, and that's going to be bad for Oster. He got way too tight out of 4. Trano's back by. Akabueze had the lift, a little bit of a block from Oster, and Trano might look 3 wide middle. He does.
Going to force the issue here. Maleshka keeping that car stuck on the inside. The amount of grip that 91 has to keep that car going, he keeps the lead.
It took us about, 450 miles, but we're racing now.
Oh, yeah. This is all, again, everyone playing it calm and collected. Here we go. It's all set off now. This is where the racing's happening right now. Trano will win. Heading into turn 3, Maleshka still keeping the car stuck on the inside.
This is going to be side-by-side out of 4. Watch the run Adam Blocker is going to get out of turn number 4. And you'd almost certainly have to take these guys 3 wide.
Here he comes. Huge run on the front straightaway. Look at that run. He's got to go to the inside. He's going to hit a little bit of wall with the air, but it has enough of the overspeed to get on through.
Ooh, they're going to make contact for second. Trano's almost in the wall. Maleshka almost hit him again. How did they keep it straight?
I'm genuinely amazed they're able to fight this hard. They're pushing with everything their cars have got. Maleshka trying to run to the inside here. He's going to pinch Trano, block him in.
They've been giving up the middle. They realize they're all going to push the middle and go for it. At this point, you got to make sure they don't have a gap to make it 3 wide. And we've still got 6 cars in it. Don't count out Christian Steele yet. Akabueze is also by Oster for 4th.
So many cars still left in the running. 3 wide down the front straightaway here. Blocker going to peel out of it.
He's going to stay in line, though, side by side.
The race is on here in Indianapolis. Approaching later stages. Orban sideways in the background.
He's in the wall hard.
He's going to be slow on the track. If he can pull it off, depending where he pulls it off, we will remain green.
Ooh, Trano almost put Blocker in the grass. Meanwhile, I think Orman's going to keep it going. We might stay green. And now these guys might know it. Potential cautions coming out. They're all going to be fighting for the lead just in case.
Yeah, we do get a caution now. We will definitely get one more restart, but these guys don't want to let up to that. There he goes, swerving towards the wall. Trano will go to the inside, and he will, I think, just barely beat Maleshka at the line.
Now we're 2 by 2. Here comes Akabueze into the fight for the race lead. Trano back clear, just barely of Maleshka. Here comes a crossover at 215 miles an hour, and Maleshka gets it back.
Gets it back and will beat Trano off of turn 2. Slipstreaming sideways, snaking down the back straightaway.
Those top 2 kind of distance themselves for the time being. They'll stay side by side. Trano pinching as hard as he can to Maleshka. Only inches in between the 2 cars. And once again, Adam Blocker should have a run. But is he close enough to take advantage with a run?
I don't think so. Maybe not. He's going to have a huge run, though, heading off and trying to look at the slipstream that Blocker has got. Won't beat them at the line. Will have enough of a run for turn 1.
5 miles an hour faster. That's what does it for him. But look how much he washed up. They both behind him. Trano and Maleshka are flirting with crashing each and every lap. We're 3 wide in turn 2. Blocker has
I'm absolutely speechless at the way these guys are running right now.
I don't know how they're getting away with it. Here comes more 3 wide. Akabueze is going to try to just find somewhere to go in this fight, but everyone outside the top 3, they don't have room to get into this fight.
They really don't. You cannot do 4 wide. You can barely do 3 wide around here consistently. 4 wide is completely out of the question. Running down to the wall. Oh, Trano almost turned. Maleshka on the front straightaway there. 3-way back into turn 1. Blocker trying to take advantage of the chaos. Around the outside will get past Trano. Will not get past Maleshka.
I think Trano got damage. Akabueze's got front wing damage now. They made contact. They made contact right at the pit entrance, and I think it ruined Trano's front wing.
Slowing off the pace for Brandon Trano. Right on board and see what happened there. What set him in this situation.
We saw them. He thought he'd get room on the bottom right before the attenuator, but Maleshka does not give him this room that Trano was thinking he would get. Trano runs into the left rear of Maleshka. You'll see it right there.
Yeah, there.
And that's and then if it keeps going, you'll see into turn number 1. You can tell there's damage to that wing because he just does not turn into turn number 1.
Does not turn. Also hurt. Oh, he made contact. Hamilton Akabueze made contact with him.
Akabueze, I guess his car might be okay. He's able to stay in the fight. Treno's just going to have to lip it to the end. An Indy 500
there's that
win.
hit. Oh, I think that might have taken the wing off.
It looked like it did, but I see it on there now.
It came back on. It was one of those things where this had to readjust. But both of them off a little bit more off the pace. Blocker versus Malechka. Now, Oster's fallen a little bit out of this fight after it all caked up a little bit. It fizzled for a moment after everyone got separated after the contact. Treno's effectively out of it. Down in 7th place for him. He's might have to just settle for the championship title at this point, way down the order. Christian Steele ahead of him in 4th. And then really this is the main three we're looking at it as Oster looks like he's getting warmed up ready for this final run to the end.
He was a 10th faster last time by. If those two start the battle side by side again, he will get another big run. But it was a 5-car battle. Might only be 3 cars now in case, unless Christian Steele, Akabueze, they can get up there somehow, as these two are going to start swapping the lead back and forth.
I'm curious what Oster has got in plan here because he's got to think of something to do. If he wants to insert himself as a 3rd car. Oh, he doesn't want to do that.
That might have been, I don't know. It was more of a scrape. He might have gotten away with it just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call there. You don't want to do that. His car is looking... Oh, he hit in the wall now.
Time.
His car is really tight.
Hit the curbing, and that might take him straight up out of it. This might make it a 1v1.
And look at that. After I thought it was going to be a 6-way duel, it's going to come down to 2 cars up in the front. And how about that? The 2 former winners of this race duking it out.
Who would have expected that? We've gotten, according to Sim Racer Hub, 8 races in Indy Elite, 8 Indy 500s, no repeat winner. We're looking pretty close to getting one here in the last 12.5 miles.
After everything that's been said, after all the fighting, 5 laps to go, we got 2 Indy 500 winners here duking it out to see who can become the multi-time winner in this series.
And there's no more lap traffic at this point in the race, so this is definitely a 1v1. It's all about timing the slingshot at the most perfect time, preferably probably into turn number 3. You want to do it on the final lap, but it's all about timing, and both of these drivers are going to be trying to time it up.
I reckon if you can time it right, you might be able to get a run out of turn 4. I've tried it myself in the past with mixed success. It is possible, not necessarily the best move.
It's going to be a tough call if you want to rely on getting the run to the line out of 4.
Oh man, that was close to the line.
1/1000th of a second close, matter of fact.
Who got that?
That would have been Adam Blocker.
Oh, so it's possible, but you have to time it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to sit there? And of course, the leading car is not going to sit there and let you try to pass them on by. They're going to snake down the entire front straightaway.
No doubt about it, I would think, but we really haven't been seeing any snaking quite yet. They're just slingshotting back and forth, I think because both of them are trying to time it for themselves, so I don't think either driver's trying to stay in the lead until you get out of turn number 4. Then we'll see drivers go towards pit entry snaking Newgarden style.
Here comes Malechka, big run on the straightaway, maybe trying to set up for what can happen in just a couple laps' time. 3 laps to go here in Indianapolis.
That time it was 15/1000th of a second towards Adam Blocker, so most of the time Blocker's getting the light lead at the line by pure, just barely anything, so that's something to note. He's the one who's been timing it right to lead the laps the past few times, so Malechka might have to try something different, change up the timing a little bit.
Change it up, catch Blocker sleeping where he can. Jacob Oster, 1.2 seconds back out of it. Hamilton Akabueze also out of it. He's just trying to fight with his teammate, if anything, for that final step on the podium. Christian Steele, Brophy, Treno, Rashad Craig, and Mark Murphy as they run.
2 laps of racing to go. This will be interesting to see what Malechka does. Does he try to keep the lead in the turn number 3 this time? Do they run different lines? This is when you probably got to change up the timing. Blocker actually lost a decent amount of time there, but he should still have the run into 3. Malechka not snaking.
I think he wants to let Blocker on by. I think Malechka maybe wants to be the one that charges hard on the final lap. Through 3 and 4. Back into the front straightaway. Malechka will run a little bit high, maybe set up a move. Does he want to get by Blocker? We'll see what he plans on doing. Here we go. White flag in the air. 1 more lap to go here at Indy.
Once again, Blocker leads that lap. Malechka gets the lead into turn number 1, but now it has not been working for Malechka when he loses the lead into 3. Akabueze is in the 3rd, but what does Malechka do differently here?
Let's see what is going to happen. This is a reverse of roll. Is he going to snake down the straightaway? Blocker trying to get a run, as much of a run as he can. Is he going to be enough alongside to make a move? Going to look to the outside.
He's going to have the run out of 4 if he keeps it on the outside nice and tidy. This might be a door-banging fight to the line.
Here we go through turn 4, side by side, final lap. Blocker trying to get somewhat of a run on slipstream, anything he can get on Robert Malechka, but it's not going to be enough. Malechka by a nose at the line will win at Indy.
What a finish! My gosh, after 500 miles.
Both of the previous Indy 500 winners duking it out. Malechka adding one more to his score.
Unbelievable. 2-time in the number 91. And by 11, really a full 100th of a second.
And what a solid job. We've got to give hats off to both of these drivers for fighting hard, but fighting clean. And really everyone else involved in that battle didn't see a caution when we probably should have seen a couple. But Robert Malechka taking home the winner. Of course, I have to mention Brandon Treno, if the math is correct and plans out, should be walking away with the championship in tow, only finishing 2 spots in behind Christian Steele, who will have to settle for second place on that stat. But Malechka lining it up here at the Yard of Bricks.
He will be kicking himself. He'll be the champion, but as far as the race win, he'll be kicking himself for that contact out of turn number 4. He was definitely in contention. And you know what's hilarious? The NASCAR race almost finished across the line at the exact same time. How crazy is that? And I think Kyle Larson won, but that's not the point. Who cares about that? That was an incredible drive by Malechka.
Oh, look at that shot. Money shot right here. Woo.
You know what? I really thought Blocker would have had the run out of 4, but it almost looked like he got a little bit too tight. The tires were pretty old at that point. It just didn't seem like it had the run that I thought it would. But that was a thrilling last 30 laps.
I think we definitely got to take a look at that finish here. We'll line up for the replay here. Take a look at these drivers duking it out here. I'll make sure I'm on the final lap. I think one more to go here.
I hate to bring up NASCAR. That might have been the closest finish in NASCAR history.
No.
But we almost I don't know. This might have been the closest finish in Indy Elite history.
I think it's definitely up there.
Indy 500 history, maybe. But look at this. I thought Blocker would have had the run out of 4. He has the run right here. He even has the advantage, but he's just not able to hold and pinch Malechka like he needed to. And that's really all Malechka needed. He tried to maybe get some side draft here. He just did not have enough time.
The one thing Malechka's car, I don't know how he's had it set up. He's had some extremely good grip and speed on the inside lane. I don't know how he's been able to do it, but that's really been the one thing that's been, that's been helping him out across all these runs. When Treno was pinching him down on the outside of some of these corners, and you can see he's got Blockers doesn't have much of anything. A little bit of hit check there for assurance there from Malechka to make sure that he won.
That's unbelievable.
Okay, I went a little bit too far back. Want to get a slow-mo shot of them coming to the line. But fantastic stuff from both of these drivers.
Definitely a little hip check there, but I don't think you can call anything on that. No. That's a line. That's for the Indianapolis 500. That's as good as it gets.
Fantastic job for both of these guys. We'll take a look here at your finishing results here. Robert Malechka taking the win, multi-time Indianapolis 500 winner here in the Indy Elite Series. Adam Blocker having to settle for second place after an extremely hard-fought battle at 11 thousandths of a second, separating to the leaders. Hamilton Akaboyes in third with Jacob Oster. Christian Steele, Jason Brophy, our new champion, what should be our champion unofficially. Brandon Treno in seventh, Rashad Craig eighth, Mark Murphy in ninth, and Andreas Ike in 10th.
Yeah, and then I just can't get over that finish. That was absolutely incredible at the line. 11th place is Andrew Marquez. Some of the drivers we didn't really see much of in the top 10 tonight. AJ Musselman, Joe Branch, Finn Lazier, the last drivers on the lead lap. Then Gary Laverne, he started shotgun on the field dead last to 15th place. I think he'll be happy with that. John Christensen, same thing, started way at the back, gets 16th. And then a lot of attrition played way through this 500-mile race. Alexander Ball, Craig Forsyth, Jesper Orman, who was into the wall late in this one. He had a shot to win. He finishes 19th. And Andrew Wood, who also had a bout with the wall earlier in the race, he recovered to stay in the race to get into the 20th position.
Yeah, then heading to the next page, a lot of drivers that end up retiring. Joshua Chucker, I'm sure he's going to be disappointed. Had a chance, a little bit iffy on the fuel strategy, but definitely had a solid chance of being in contention for the win. Unfortunately, retired early on after having some damage. Then Seb Alexander, Lenzer Bonder, Vinicius Carey, Andrich, Silva, Stouffer, David Adams, Mike Kitchell, and then the final three finishers, Altena, who really I think didn't get a chance to really show what he had for tonight, finishing in 11th after issues with his pedals, Charles Ante, and then Tony Schowen in 33rd.
And we didn't even know what happened to Ante either, but him and Altena really just didn't have a chance today. But I'm always shocked by the attrition rate in some of these IndyCar races. That's nearly half the field who wasn't able to finish this race. Just shows how grueling of a race this can be. And even with it being that grueling, it'll come down to 100th of a second.
Yeah, take a look again at the finishing results there. I was so busy looking at the finishing results, I didn't realize it wasn't popping up on the feed. There's a look at the gaps there for the top 10 drivers. Again, 11 thousandths of a second with Adam Blocker here. And while we're looking at the results, take a chance to talk to our finishers. We'll talk to, let's see who we got here. Oh, we got Jacob Oster in here. I'll take a chance to talk to him since he's in the waiting room. All right, Jacob. Hey, Jacob, it's SimTV. You got a copy?
Yeah, how are y'all doing?
Doing good. How are you doing after a hard-fought battle there at the end? We saw you looking into the distance, trying to see if you can catch up to Blocker and Malechka. Unfortunately, it didn't look like you had enough left in the tank. Walk us through how that finish went for you.
I'm not too happy with myself considering that I threw away my best chance at a 500 again because I went a little bit too aggressive in turn one behind Rob and Adam, but I'm just going to take away that the car was good. We had a good car.
Yeah, and then, throughout the race, we saw, especially earlier on, you had an issue where you got put back down in the midfield. How hard was it? We saw it took you quite a while to get back up there. How hard was it to work through the midfield?
Yeah, I screwed up on pit road. And I was going to just take it as a learning session and try and get through the field. Learned quite a bit about what to do and what not to do and where the car probably needs to be improved a little bit. Powerslide definitely had a little bit better traffic car considering Rob was able to start like 5 positions back of me and get ahead of me before the pit stop cycle happened. But just something to look at, things to learn for the month of May.
All right, well, Jacob, solid 4th place finish for you and an entertaining finish. You definitely provided everyone an entertaining finish there at the end. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, moving on next, we'll talk to Hamilton Akwaeze. Hamilton, we saw you were fighting with your teammate there at the end. Of course, you would have been rather fighting for the 2 positions ahead of you. You got a solid 3rd place finish. Walk us through that battle from your perspective, because you were caught right in the middle of it.
Oh, it was wild for sure. Like, I was not expecting there to be that much of a brawl at the end with the way the race was going. But I mean, the little bit of tire difference between people and everything just made it crazy race. Yeah, really unfortunate for Trina though, and then I chose wrong. Like, I wasn't sure if his wing was broken or not, so I wasn't sure exactly where to go. And that brought me back a bit, but yeah, I mean, I'll take P3 for sure. That was awesome racing the whole time. I wasn't sure how much I'd be able to do, like, as like 5th in line or so, but we kept shuffling around. People were being very aggressive, and it was just, yeah, a lot of fun, and definitely a lot to learn for the real 500 in, June 1st, so a lot to learn, a lot to go over, for sure.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask you, too, about when it came down to the strategy at the end. Was it, we saw some drivers maybe coming in a little bit early, some drivers staying out for the overcut. Which do you think was the better option to go with?
It seemed like the overcut was definitely the way to go, because we were trying to Steele and Trino were trying to break away a bit. They didn't get as far as they would have liked. I mean, they were in front of them, which was perfect, but the tire difference ended up meaning a lot, which I wasn't sure how much it would mean at a track like this, only 6 laps or so, but it ended up definitely meaning something. And I went a lap too long for my own good, because on my pit-in lap, I threw it in lap 5, and just like go like 60% throttle because I was like right on the number and wasn't paying too much attention to it. So that was close to being bad, but I sputtered into my box and it ended up not losing me too much time. Cut the draft. But yeah, a lot of strategy going on at the end there, which yeah, fun.
All right, well, Hamilton, thanks for talking to us. Congrats on your third place finish.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we'll go to Adam Blocker next, our second place finish. Adam, of course, you and Robert Mleczka, by almost fate, it seems, the two previous winners of the Indianapolis 500 for the series, and you both ended up fighting for the win. Unfortunately, you were the losing part of that battle, but what a finish between both of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just happy that we got a team win and kind of a team 1-2. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good race. I mean, I think I spent the whole first 150 laps saving. I was going to be on whatever fuel save strategy was available, and I think I was always going longer than everybody. But in the end, we didn't really have a fuel save to the end. But Rob and I did save, went long, just to get fresher tires for the end. And also, we were able to swap kind of in clean air when they were. After they pitted and had a shorter stop, so we were basically able to come out with them with fresher tires, which was really big at the end.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, because we saw you and Mleczka playing back and forth. Which would you were in the position where you were the attacker on the final, heading into turns 3 and 4. Would you rather been the car up ahead, or would you have preferred where you were being that car in behind trying to make the move?
I really didn't know. So before. Obviously, so we're teammates. So like, once we got kind of in a mess there with all the I5G guys, and we just tried to. Eventually, an opportunity came when kind of Trano got checked up and some things happened, and so we were able to, and I was able to get a big run on Rob, and then we were able to start flip-flopping, like swap drafting, and really get a big gap to the guys behind. From that point, it was just like, okay, we know basically we were gonna fight for on the last lap. And I really wasn't sure what to do, whether I should defended into turn 1 or let him go. And I think I could have won from second in 3 and 4. It was just going to come down to hundreds, and that's what it did. Came into 100. So.
Yeah, well, Adam wasn't the win, but a very solid finish in general, and a very solid, well-earned second place. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, just want to thank everybody at PowerSlide for all the work, and hopefully. The end of the month goes a similar way. Thanks to the admins for running the league. See you all next season.
Yeah, definitely glad I can actually say that this time, and it'll actually come through to see you guys for next season. Thanks for talking to us, Adam.
Yep. See you.
All right, moving on. Last, but certainly not least, the winner of the 9th annual Indianapolis 500, Robert Mleczka. Robert, I think it's safe to say you definitely had to fight hard for this one. Because you came flying through the field, especially because on one restart, and you can see it on the graphic there, you started back in 29th. Mm-hmm. Somehow, I don't know what you did to the car, you were flying through the field. What's your secret?
I guess my secret is forgetting to eat dinner and then sitting on pit road for 2 minutes to eat dinner and then cruising through the field.
Was that the reason?
Oh yeah, 100%. I had a bowl of ramen. I did 2 hours of practice. I had a bowl of ramen sitting here. I got through half of it before the race started, and then I'm like, I need to eat the other half before it gets cold. So I was munching on some ramen there, and then I guess my whole goal for this race, right, is it's a great warm up for the month of May and the iRacing 500. So my whole goal really was to kind of put myself in situations that could possibly that I could possibly be in for the iRacing 500, and I guess starting in the back with the moderate track temp was kind of the best way to do it. And I learned so much just trying to get through the field there and seeing where the grip is, seeing where it's not, and putting my car in situations that I usually wouldn't. Right, so I think that really helped me out get to the front. I mean, I know we have a rocket ship in clean air, but I was pleasantly surprised with how good we were in traffic. And then end of the race there, it's really just playing a team game, right? Where it was Adam and I versus 3 i5G cars, and we worked really well together. We played the overcut perfectly, had the fresh tires, and were able to jump in them and get a great 1-2 for us.
Yeah, really solid run there, and I wanted to ask you your side of things. So we saw you going back and forth. It almost looked like you were planning on being the car attacking at the end, coming to the line, but eventually you kind of flip-flop. You were the leading car heading through. Was that what you wanted, or would you rather been that car charging at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is everyone's kind of first race on the new scan of Indy, I believe, or at least since the grip update. So honestly, we didn't really know. I tried to bait Adam into kind of leading that last lap so I could get the run down the back. But I think it turned out that you wanted to be the leader coming to the white flag, or I guess going onto the white flag for me. And just managing the gap that whole straightaway, trying to break the draft, and I thought Adam was going to have the run after, and I guess he got close, but I think he barely touched me. That lost him like a mile per hour, and I was able to secure myself the win there.
All right, well, Robert, really solid job. Congrats on you also becoming the first multi-time Indy 500 winner in this series. 2 to your name, if I'm not mistaken, because I think we were trying to check that on Sim Racer Hub. So I believe that title does effectively go to you, and I got to say you definitely earned it after fighting that hard throughout this race.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care. Appreciate the broadcast and all the hard work you guys do behind the scenes for us.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be back for next season as well.
Awesome. Take care.
All right. And with that, it's going to be wrapping up into the race finishers. We're waiting to see if we can talk to champion Brandon Traino, officially confirmed after 4 drop weeks accounted for. 101 points will be the gap of separation between Traino and Steele. Then Hamilton Nakaweze, Robert Mleczka, and Jacob Oster, top 5 in the standings. But I cannot believe he went to the back of the field to eat dinner. That is a first I've heard.
All part of a balanced diet to win the race, I suppose. That's what it took. It clearly gave him the advantage out of turn 4 on the final lap.
Apparently it did. So just that's the key to winning Indianapolis here. Being a little bit hungry, having to pit for ramen, and then getting back out there and driving through the field.
Quite literally, too. What, do you go 29th to like 8th or 7th?
Basically, effectively from the back to the front in a very short amount of time, mind you, as well. We did a fantastic job.
One whole fuel stint. That's all it took for him to get back into the front. He wasn't even at the front before that either. He was a little in the mid-pack, but after that pit stop, he was absolutely flying. We knew with the speed that car had, he was going to be a guy to fight for the win. It played into his way perfectly.
Really did play into it here. Waiting still on Brendan Traino. I don't think we have him. He might have went to go take a hard-earned break. I don't blame him after racing for so long. He's also probably a little bit annoyed he couldn't get a chance at getting an Indianapolis 500 victory, but he will walk away with the championship in very dominating fashion with, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of this season, 8 wins to his name. He's actually a back-to-back champion, won the championship, as I mentioned before, in Season 9, and will win the championship in Season 10. Won 8 out of the 15 races he has started this season. 11 top 5s, 13 top 10s, pretty much domination. The only driver you can argue maybe almost a little bit more consistent in some ways, it was Christian Steele with some more top 10s to his name, but unfortunately not enough points to get him and push him past that finish line. But I think with that, I don't think we are going to be getting him for interview, so I think we'll call it wraps up for tonight. A long race, but boy was it exciting at the end.
It was incredibly exciting. We knew we were waiting for... we said it, calm before the storm. We knew they were kind of just biding their time. Everyone was trying to save fuel, make sure they could maybe get to the end on fuel, or in the 74 and the 91's case, making sure they had the fresher tires to the end, which really became the winning move for both those drivers, to be faster than Traino, to be able to kind of out-battle him, regardless of the contact or anything like that. But the racing got crazy. For a moment there, in those last 20 laps, it looked like we could have 6 different drivers win that race. After the contact Traino had, he kind of stacked some other drivers up, and then, like we said, what are the odds? It comes down to the only former winners of this race. Mleczka Blocker to the line. It does not get better than that, and Mleczka is going to be 2-time going into next season when we come back here next year for the Indy 500, which will be the 10th installment. But Mleczka, like you said, you need to have a proper diet. Clearly want him to the race tonight. Absolutely incredible. This was one of the greatest races I've ever called on Sim TV. That was a blast.
Yeah, fantastic race to call here at Indianapolis. Robert Mleczka, your Indy 500 champion, and of course the season championship going to Brandon Traino. Well, that's going to wrap up a season here, Season 10 of the Indy Elite Series. We'll be coming back for Season 11 in a couple months' time. Can't wait to come back for that. Kick it off all over again. But for tonight, my name is Tuni Kuna here with Connor Horn. We'll be signing out from SimTV. Thank you so much for watching.